boy, Craig, the silent protagonist of Renowned and Feared.
Mm-hmm. Our forever special guest.
Here we go. Renowned and Feared, everybody. Today we're talking about the unknowable, the much, they call it a conspiracy theory, but I'm here to tell you, Skaven are real. They have cities, under cities, beneath our feet, everywhere. The biggest one of all being under Washington D.C. You know what
Skaven Blight.
Yeah, DC. Skaven Blight is built directly underneath Washington D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what powers those 5G towers? Archer King. Warpstone. Warpstone. That's their secret. That's how they're giving us all cancer. That's how they're turning the frogs gay.
The Pentagon is actually just the Council of 13.
The Council of 13 meets at the Pentagon. I've seen the rat men coming out in front. I've seen the Clintons worship. It's not a big statue of an owl. It's the giant rat, the giant horned rat.
The horned one, yeah.
You think that comet in the sky is just a meteorite? No, there's a little rat man in a spaceship in that twin-tailed comet.
By Sigmar.
Did you actually get that far in the Vortex campaign?
I played Mortal Empires.
Oh, okay. Dude, in the Vortex campaign, you find out that twin-tailed comet is actually a spaceship piloted by a Skaven.
Yeah. It's like that for everyone else, except that it's like a really bad thing, obviously.
Oh, I didn't realize that it got revealed to them, because I was like, holy shit, that'd be so funny if you only find this out if you're playing as the Skaven. I think they messed up there.
Yeah, because when you finish it, like I played it as, or finish it as like Lizardman and a High Elf, and it's the same thing. It's like, oh, it's a Skaven meteorite trying to summon the horned rat. But yeah. That would be cool, though, if it was just a Skaven thing. That'd be really funny.
Yeah. It's the grand conspiracy. So today we're covering Queek Headtaker of Clan Moors.
Yes.
With me, as always, is the filthy no-fur Archer King.
Jesus.
Yeah, I went that far. I'm
Welcome, everybody. My co-host is a nasty rat boy.
There's a hard N in that no-fur right there. I'm sorry, man. I'm a big fan of the lesser used racial slurs, and no fur is pretty hilarious to me.
It's a good one. It's like Noir from Elder Scrolls. That's my favorite.
Noir?
Noir. It's like you ever played Morrowind?
It's been years, man. I played that when I was like a kid. I remember the Neverine, but what's a Noir?
It's like outsider, but it's like a slur.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like a dark elf slur.
That's pretty funny.
It's good.
I'm like an edgy boy like that. I like collecting the lesser known insults. I'm just gonna put that in my back pocket.
Just gonna store that for later. This will come in handy.
I told somebody at work. Somebody was like, "Hey, have you like talked to any of the new guys lately?" And I was like, "Look, until they've lasted 3 months, they have no names to me."
Jesus,
it's like Vietnam. It's best not to get too attached to anybody. They can be gone any day.
Don't get too attached, yeah.
So finally, we got to cover my much beloved Skaven, and none other than Clan Moors, who is probably up there with or down there with Clan Rictus as far as just the basic, no frills Skaven experience.
Okay, yeah, I'm glad that you agree.
I mean, I appreciated it because I do like the start positions, honestly. Like, even in the Vortex campaign, I remember fighting. Clan Moors got a very strong foothold when we were doing oh my god, the edgy boy of all edgy boys,
Malice.
Malice. Yeah, when we did Malice, just the pains Clan Wars was causing me. I remember they also took over the majority of the Southlands when we were doing Cetra. Like they were bouncing up against me, I think at one point. So it was kind of, I definitely felt like the antagonist of the Vortex campaign.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, you definitely are.
Yeah, definitely. And it was kind of cool because I ended up in what I called the triumvirate of the Southlands, where it was a military alliance between me, Cetra the Imperishable, and Clan Ashen. And we basically dominated the Southlands, and nothing could really invade us. And it was pretty cool. I felt overpowered for the first time in a long time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, not so much on Mortal Empires, because I think I got about maybe 60 turns in on that, and I kind of just decided to go all in on the Vortex campaign. Especially since Grimgore definitely beat out the Karak Eight, or he took over Karak Eight Peaks. He took out the dwarves, and he had a pretty massive wah going on. So
yeah, I have a bone to pick.
Oh, okay. I mean, I actually had picked a pretty good army. Like my build was actually pretty strong against them, and I was pretty lucky. Like I probably could have kept going, but I was like, I kind of want to do the. I haven't completed a Vortex campaign in a while, and definitely none of the original races for Warhammer 2. So I kind of wanted to see it to the end.
Yeah, it's kind of taken us a while to get to one of like the core races of Warhammer 2. It's kind of funny.
Well, there's been so many additions to the game. Yeah,
That's true. Yeah, that's also been me being like, I don't know, maybe next week.
Yeah, and I was the one who wanted to start with Tyrion. You know, just the bare basics, and you're like, no. That's everybody's done Tyrion.
Yeah, I was like, no, we need to get fucked on this first campaign. People will come when we're in pain.
Yes, and for the most part, they have. Our Tehedouin video is getting some views, maybe not many. I probably should donate to another another streamer to get our name out there. But we'll break onto the scene soon. You know, we didn't. One day. Warhammer's not running out of legendary lords anytime soon.
Apparently not. No.
Yeah, stick around for the post show to hear. Or this time, hopefully I won't be too lazy and split them up, and maybe I should just upload the post show and the regular show separately. I think I'll do that. Anyway, moving on, because that's not related. So tell me, while this was going on, because we were running a bit late because my schedule got fucked up last week. You were having some trouble with the Skaven, like the game wasn't letting you perform ambushes or something like that.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I sent you an email like halfway through the week being just like, what the fuck? Is this like normal? Because it's not happening. Or like it kept happening to me.
So it was just crashing every time you had an ambush battle?
Yeah, well, I was getting a crash to desktop after ambush battles. And which is horrible as Skaven. And I eventually figured out that it's actually just Queek himself for some reason.
Really?
I was able to do ambush attacks afterwards. And the shitty thing is that it always happened right after the battle. So like as soon as you come out of the loading screen is when it would crash. So I would finish these battles, sometimes like pretty close ones or ones that I thought I did really well on, and the game was like, fuck you. Like you don't get to keep that one.
And the auto resolve does not favor you. Occasionally I got it on my side once or twice, but for the most part, when you're just running clan rats, and I feel like the early game, the auto resolve just assumes you're getting fucked every time.
Yeah, like it was fine once I had access to some later units, but I pretty much had to avoid actually going into ambush stance with the intent to actually get someone that I was close with. Like if it was, I had the obvious number advantage, or it was going to be a pretty easy win for me, I would take it because obviously auto resolve, but for the most part, yeah, I was like avoiding it with Queek.
And that's a very tough because the Skaven are one of the few, like every faction in the Skaven, every legendary lord in the Skaven, what am I saying? Any lord,
Roster.
yeah, any Skaven army can ambush on the attack,
Mhm.
and that's a pretty big staple to the Skaven that I always found pretty OP and just kind of interesting since I like the idea of being able to attack offensively as opposed to having to set up a position and hope that the AI decides to move towards you.
Mhm.
And you can, once you get some artillery, once I got a couple plague claw catapults, which are awesome. You can ambush some armies that are more powerful than you, like the last defenders.
Mhm.
And those plague, like even if you have 3, or I think I ran 4 at the most, you can pretty much devastate any, as long as they don't have big beasts. If they just got the Saurus warriors and whatnot,
Yeah.
they move slow enough to where if you set up in the right way, and clan rats are pretty expendable. So if you have to lob a few artillery rounds into a group of them, you don't really feel bad about it.
Yeah, all the better.
All the better. Man, I felt like I don't know if you've ever seen was it Enemy at the Gates? It's a World War II movie about like from Russia's perspective.
Right.
But
Yeah, I saw it a long time ago. I can't remember though.
it's one of my favorite movies. You're basically just blowing a whistle, sending in waves of rats, and being like,
Mhm.
okay, first wave ineffective. Send in the second wave.
Yeah.
uh, it, it was I tried to play in the spirit of that for a long time because you don't really have to go with slave rats as clan Moors, which is nice because he has a huge discount on clan rats, which
Yes.
are, like I said, pretty expendable, not that great, but still way above the slave rats.
Yeah. Like you at least get shields, depending.
Yeah, shields on like the slightly higher tier, clan rats. But either way, they're way better than Skaven slaves. They have a much higher melee attack for what they are, and they cost virtually nothing. Because you get 50% upkeep bonuses on
Mhm.
storm vermin and clan rats, which is pretty cool.
I don't know how I feel about Storm Vermin. I feel like they're worse than Tomb Guard, which is also a tier 3 like max level infantry for the Tomb Kings. Like I just don't think they're worth it. Like even with a discount, I'm just like, eh.
Oh, I had a lot of storm vermin in my final army just because I poured in all of my like my general abilities
Mhm.
into the storm vermin essentially. Just I like the look of them.
Gotcha.
I like their name. It's all about how something looks to me,
Yeah.
for the most part. The- I think the ones with hailbirds are pretty strong.
Yeah,
If
that's true.
you this I would like a. I think I'm going to stick with that. I will disagree only with the hailbird versions of the storm vermin being more viable, I would say.
Right.
But I definitely kept a lot of mainline storm vermin infantry that uh, I kind of just used them to be honest, not a lot of enemies actually got close enough to me to actually engage the storm vermin.
Right.
Uh, the storm vermin were such a high level that they were essentially unbreakable, which did make them, valuable in that sense.
Hmm.
Uh, between the plague claw catapults, the laser thing, what is that?
Oh,
How do
you're
I
talking
not know?
about warp lightning cannons?
Yeah, the warp lightning cannons.
Hell yeah.
Because I think my final army had 2 warp lightning cannons and
Hmm.
2 plague claw catapults
Okay.
because the warp lightning cannons are just awesome against dragons and large units.
Yeah, if you were fighting last defenders, I imagine that came in handy.
I didn't even have them at that point.
Oh damn. Okay.
But I had 2 rattling guns in the I didn't want to, like, when we do Clan Scryer, like I played a little of them recently, like I'll
Hmm.
definitely put more rattling guns to see to see how that
How
works
fun
out.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. But The rattling guns can be pretty effective against a Dreadsaurian. I had like 2 rattling guns bring down one pretty quickly, just because every fucking shot hits them because they're
Yeah.
such a big target.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of a special scenario because they are so big, but that's pretty much how things go with rattling guns.
Yeah, and my by far favorite unit was the it's like not the Death Globe Bombardiers, but it was the Regiment of Renown version of the mortars. So it was like the
Okay, yeah.
Death Globe mortar team, I guess.
Right.
That thing obliterates infantry.
Poison
Like
wind mortars do it well enough. I'm sure the ROR one is even better.
dude, the Death Globe one, if you get one solid hit on a unit that's moving towards you, you can just move to another target because they're already less than 50%. At that point.
Yeah, cheap infantry will break on it.
Cheap infantry will break on it. Even Phoenix Guard, I'd get in one solid volley on a Phoenix Guard, and they'd be down to below half their original troop count. So I just aim at another Phoenix Guard, and so by the time they actually did make it to my Storm Vermin, they were all engaging them with less than half of what they started with.
Damn.
And it's the Storm Vermin aren't great, but if they're coming up against that high tier infantry who are well below half their original fighting power, you got the numbers. And Queek is a pretty good fighter himself. I really liked him I spec'd him out to mainly just boost the Storm Vermin, and then I maxed out his combat tree almost.
Yeah, there isn't a whole lot else to do with him, to be honest. He just doesn't have that many perks because he hasn't been touched since Warhammer 2 released. So
I mean, he's just a really good duelist. The Dwarf Gouger is pretty powerful, and his warpstone armor is great as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically the idea.
Yeah, and I definitely, I think I started because I did the Mortal Empires in this for a little bit as well. I definitely did all the quest battles multiple times. Not that they're too difficult, at least by the time I fought them.
No, they're pretty easy.
So tell me what you thought about Clan Wars. You said you mainly did the Mortal Empires campaign, and
yes.
I really like the starting position of Clan Wars on the Mortal Empires campaign.
Okay, tell me why, because I'm gonna take a different take. I guarantee it.
Okay, I'm a big fan of. I like not having to fight in every direction. You're in a valley. First of all, you can secure that valley basically within one turn, and it's you're kind of at a crossroads in the mountains there. You're on that valley that runs east to west, and you've got that trail that goes down south. And if you fortify your minor settlement on the eastern edge, dude, nothing's getting through there. They either have to hit your main settlement on your west, and once a garrison, once you upgrade your a main settlement for the Skaven, even Legend of Total War says it, and I agree with them. If you get a tier 5 garrison in a main settlement of the Skaven, it's unfucking beatable for the AI, unless they got to throw a lot at it to get through.
Yeah.
I just like it. You're kind of at this critical geographical point, and you can make friends on one side or the other. And, once you take the dwarves to yourself, I'm pretty sure they have a gold mine down there.
They do. Yeah. Karak Eight Peaks is a big boon.
Yeah. Easy access to gold, man. So
I mean, not easy though, because that kind of sucks.
Okay, get all you got to do is play Clock Catapults. Get the Poison Wind Glombardiers are good enough, but if you can get the Death Globe Bombardiers, I love Death Globe Bombardiers, man. They shred dwarf units, man. They shred them.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just suck at playing Skaven because I've only played a little bit of Ekit before we did this whole campaign. And yeah, I don't know. I can't do anything, or I feel like I'm really powerless until I start getting tier 3 units like Rattling Guns and Jeziles and Catapults. Just because, I don't know. I just feel like I'm investing in growth and taking free settlements until that point.
No, you're definitely investing in growth, but you also have let's bring up the food
Mhm.
meter, I guess. The food having food is a mechanic exclusive to the Skaven, where it's kind of like a sliding scale in the top of your your screen on the campaign map. The more you have, you get bonuses to public order, leadership, as well as growth.
Mhm.
So I always like am obsessed with keeping like the food at the max. So because your settlements you can get to tier 3 pretty quickly if you have like minor settlements with the what is it, the breeding
Breeding pits.
grounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, the breeding pits.
Mhm. They just gotta make it sound more gross. Like,
Dude,
ugh.
everything about the Skaven is evil. There's nothing good about them.
It's
Which
just like icky. Like that. It just like makes me like cringe.
for those of you who don't know, the breeding pits are you will never see a female Skaven. They're all in the breeding pits, and they're basically kept drugged up on warpstone substances, where they just perpetually mate and have children,
Mhm.
and that is their function.
The end.
Yeah, the end. Skaven are evil. I love them for how
I love them.
simply I love them. They are very simple. Queek most of all. He's a one-dimensional kind of rat. But yeah, well, the tough thing about the Skaven is you have to you're when you go up against armies like the dwarves, I kind of or the lizardmen.
Yeah.
I found like say in the Vortex campaign, you definitely fight the lizardmen more. By the time you get to the dwarves in that like settlement in that basically the same one we're talking about in the Mortal Empires campaign, just on the
Mhm.
Vortex. By the time you get to them, the Vortex campaign, you probably have higher you access to pretty much any unit that you need by that point. But as far as like fighting the Source Warriors and stuff, you really got to make good use of the Warp Fire throwers. Because in the Vortex campaign, you start out with in both campaigns, the Mortal Empires and Vortex, you start out with the Storm Vermin with Hailbirds. I believe you start out with that in both of them.
Mortal
Uh,
Empires, you get 2 sword and shield, and that's
oh,
it.
you get Sword and Shield. Okay.
Yeah.
In the Vortex, you get 1 unit of Storm Vermin Hailbirds, which are great, to keep back for when you need them.
Mhm.
You get the Warp Fire Throwers, and you get the Rat Ogres. And in Mortal Empires, you get what is it, the Gutter Runner Slingers,
Yeah.
and you also get the Warp Lightning Cannons,
Yeah. In addition to the storm vermin.
in addition to the Storm Vermin.
Mhm.
In the Vortex, it's trying to tell you, I think, that the Warp Fire Throwers are basically your only hope for dealing with the Lizardmen. You know, and they really are. Like, I think you can get pretty easy access to the Warp Fire Throwers, though. They're only like, what is it, like tier 3, I think? Or,
They might even be tier 2, to be honest.
yeah, I think they're even tier 2. Yeah, because you can
Mhm.
build a weapons team at tier 2, or
Yeah.
that building for it.
Yeah, that's it.
Warp Fire Throwers, for anybody who's tried to use them, they can be incredibly destructive to your own side, but if you can, but they just melt through anything.
Yeah.
The armor, source warriors, dwarves, if you can get them clumped up on your expendable clan rats, like let's face it, you don't pay a whole lot for them anyway. So if you have
Yeah,
to
exactly.
if you just have to recruit new units of clan rats, it doesn't matter. So the goal is to basically get the dwarves or the lizardmen to clump up. And I would, in the beginning, I hired an additional warp fire thrower, so I'd have like one on my left flank and one on my right flank,
Right.
and they would just melt their way from both sides into the middle, where I
Mhm.
would usually send my rat ogres to, once the battle had been kind of going on for a bit and when the enemy was tired, I would send in the rat ogres to help deal with like probably the hero for the you know the source scarred veteran or whatever. Those
Right.
are usually pretty tough to deal with.
Yeah.
Uh, and the problem with rat ogres are they have a low unit count. Uh, I'm seeing 16 here, which sounds like more than what there actually are, but
Yeah, that
whatever.
sounds like maximum unit scale. I think it's 12 on large.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm running at extreme. So I get 16, but they still break pretty easily. Like they have low melee defense, not great melee attack either.
Mhm.
They are good at armor piercing, but I would really just send them in there once the battle had been going on and all the enemy Saurus or dwarves were like on tired, basically.
Yeah, that's pretty much how monstrous infantry is used.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Skaven is probably I've played more with than anybody else, but this is the first campaign I've completed with them.
Right.
But the Warfire throwers are great for getting through armor, man. Like if you can get the dwarves in one of those like maps where you have like kind of like that choke point,
Mhm.
you can stick out 2 warp fire throwers right out in front, and they're going to melt a lot of dwarves before they're
Yeah.
able to even get to you.
Mhm. My issue was more so like you can take those 2 settlements going south in the Mortal Empires map, but the actual like taking of a dwarven city fucking blows.
You have to wait, man. You have no option until you have artillery.
Yeah, exactly. Like I had to just like go for artillery because there's no way you're getting in there otherwise.
Yeah,
Like
it just
a
has
bunch
to.
of Skaven slaves like against like a tier 3 dwarven settlement with a full stack in it. Like, fuck.
I mean, you could hypothetically use your what's that ritual? It's the doom, the one that gives you
The scheme of
the scheme of
doom.
doom. Yeah, if you wanted to, you can use the scheme of doom and just take out the walls, because I think he takes out like 3 of the sections of walls if you choose to go that route.
I thought it like the way it reads. I thought I was like only targeting a building, and I was like, oh, I don't need to like take out their like dwarf warrior manufacturing.
No, you have the option of either building the undercity or taking out the walls if you go to a major settlement.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, if it's only on major, that makes more sense. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I mean, many people pretty much argue that using them for that purpose is kind of wasteful, but I've definitely in the Mortal Empires of like Clan Scryer, I've used the Scheme of Doom to knock out like a tough major settlement early on by doing that.
Oh yeah, like going up against like Tilia or even Nostalgia would be like pretty shit. If you had
Yeah,
to. Yeah,
I
you
mean
would be like.
their units are not as strong as the dwarves, which is fortunate. So once you knock out the walls, you can kind of especially if you give up some food for some
Mhm.
extra vermintide.
Yeah.
That's what that ability is called, right? Or am I thinking
Menace Below.
Menace Below? Menace
Yeah.
Below. That's a whole thing to the entire Skaven faction where, depending on the Skaven corruption of whatever area that you're fighting in, you may get like 3 or 4 or 5. But
Queek also has +2
extra,
uses for it.
yeah, Queek always has a free 2 uses. It's so Menace Below is incredibly useful if you're fighting an enemy that has artillery, because the AI has an incredibly reliable habit of leaving their artillery unguarded.
Yeah, that's one thing of the Skaven that I like really enjoy actually is just like not worrying about artillery. Because even if I have one use, that's what I'm using it on.
Oh yeah,
especially with dwarves.
especially with dwarves, high elves, other Skaven, because
Empire.
well, in the Vortex campaign, I was mainly I fought a lot of Skaven towards the end because it stopped sending Chaos armies and starts sending you the Grey Seer armies at you, I guess you can
Oh
call them.
yeah, the unknown Skaven clan or whatever.
Yeah, unknown
Yeah,
Skaven clan, but
yeah.
it's the Grey Seers. They're fucking clan. So I mean, if dealing with the dwarves is definitely difficult. Even on my Mortal Empires campaign, I kind of just ignored that settlement for a while until I had artillery, and mainly it was just artillery I needed, because if you can take out the towers, take out the walls, you just kind of get and death globe bombardiers. Dude, death globes are awesome, man.
Yeah, I'm very hesitant to use like short range missile units like warp fire throwers or the what are they called with the iron drakes for the dwarves, anything like that, I'm just so hesitant to use because I'm so scared of like fucking up because my my ability to like control things, my micro is pretty poor. So
Oh, come
I'm
on!
always
Even after Bretonia,
oh man,
it's
I still can't play Bretonia at full speed. It's always in like in slow motion because that's the only way I can finish a battle.
dude, it's nowhere near as hard as Bretonia. You just limit yourself, right? Like I would
Yeah.
never run more than two warfire throwers.
Right.
Like that was my max. And even still, so you get a little friendly fire, you melt a few clan rats. Nobody gives a shit.
What's that Queek quote? He says something like that.
Does he?
It's just like I've seen like a bunch of Skaven die. They're all the same. They all die. Who gives a shit? Like, why should I give a shit?
Yeah, I was just reading that earlier, actually. Like, some Skaven live, most Skaven die, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Queek abides until the end times when he gets crushed by Thorgrim Grudgebearer. But we can pretend that. Yeah.
Yeah,
we
this is before the end times. He's just fine.
Yeah, and if Warhammer 3 takes place during the end times, I can fix that.
Right the wrong.
Right. That. Yeah. I don't know. Tell me more, because it's kind of like in the reverse, where I never really played Lizardmen. You never really played the Skaven. So I'm more curious to hear about, because learning, like, this is the weird thing about Warhammer, and the great thing is I feel like some factions come more natural to other people.
Yeah.
Like, definitely, like, learning the Lizardmen is still something like I do on my free time want to go play in Gorok campaign, because I am interested. But it's like figuring out the exact uses and where I feel comfortable using those units. Like you said, you're worried about like the warfire throwers, which you can melt. I've definitely wiped out whole units of storm vermin by accident because sometimes they're not totally accurate. You just have to but like with the Skaven, a lot of things came more natural. Like I kind of instantly knew what units I should use in some regards. Like not all of them, but it definitely came quicker to me than like the Lizardmen. Like the Lizardmen, I still get to play more because I know I still don't get them. You know what I mean?
I think, yeah, like what you're saying makes a lot of sense, because I still play like I'm playing Rome 2 for whatever reason. Obviously, some things have changed, but I still am very defensive, and I don't like things not coming to me. Like, I just want to hold the position, and that's very this game style. But Skaven, in general, just they do and they don't. Like, they're really good at holding with like their missile units, but you have to engage in some respect. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really tricky for me because I'm like not great at skirmishing. I'm not great at paying attention to like 10 things at once. So if I have like a bunch of weapons teams firing different directions, I will usually miss one getting overrun. And yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's just very anti my playstyle, I think.
I think it tries to get you to embrace the fact that all Skaven lives are expendable, even if it doesn't say they are.
Yeah.
I mean, I've lost weapons teams, that were at like the gold tier of experience, but weapons teams level up fast. It's not hard to get a base level. If you hire a weapons team as Queek when he's like got the right, I don't know, specs, because you do get bonuses where even your base level, like Storm Vermin, I think I could recruit at like silver rank, I want to say, like right off the bat.
Yeah.
At a certain point. So they get those rank ups fast, especially the weapons teams. I've seen those rattling gun teams level up like crazy in battles.
That's true. Yeah, I'm looking at some screenshots, and my rattling guns brought like 130, 150 kills a piece.
oh yeah. They it's kind of like that with the warfire throwers. Like if you can get them, like the source warriors, like occasionally they do clump up. I feel like the AI does clump up the lizardmen more than they should. and Source Warriors just melting them in the back with Warfire Throwers, which are a pretty cheap unit. And I think you are correct in saying that they're only a tier 2 unit.
Yeah.
Like, granted, they're dangerous to everything else, including your own Skaven.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because, first of all, you have nothing else that's going to beat the Saurus at that point.
Right.
Even the Rat Ogres can't do it. Like,
I honestly don't think, like, I would be surprised if Storm Vermin could hold that very well against him.
they can't. They really can't. I mean, they can hold them there a lot longer.
Yeah.
The Hailbirds can definitely hold them there much better. Like, I think that the Hailbirds will hold, like, say if they go up against Saurus Spears, I think the Hailbirds will win. They'll take a lot of casualties, but they'll hold them there basically the whole time. Source Warriors, they'll do a bit, worse against, but yeah, all of your mainline infantry are definitely more inferior than most.
Yeah.
The difference is you've got a lot more per unit. You've got the numbers.
Yeah, because even Storm Vermin are like 120 per.
Yeah, and if you're running around with a bunch of gold chevron Storm Vermin, they don't break. They really don't.
Yeah. Or at least they don't have like enough that ends up coming to them to make them break.
Yeah. And really the goal is just always to hold them there until the rattling guns can get into position, or the mortar team or the warp fire throwers. Like, I had this one great battle where in the Vortex campaign, that little island that's to like in the middle of the ocean, kind of to the southwest of the Southlands. We talked about it once on the Malistar play.
Oh, yeah, it's like that, like Fortress of Dawn or whatever.
Yeah, the Fortress of Dawn.
Yeah.
I went in there with Queek pretty early on because, like, the game tries to give you those missions.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go over there and take him out right now. And I took so many casualties, but there was this one fun part where, like, the only unit that was doing, like, any damage was my warp fire throwers. Everything else was just there to be shot down by arrows.
Yeah.
And, like, the only thing I really microed was that one team of warp fire throwers going down, like, certain streets, like, as, like, the troops would be running down, like, a road or something. And, like, one volley of that warp fire would just melt anything coming at it. And it was just them stalking around, taking, like, a little bit of damage here and there, just trying to get them to clear out the town by themselves almost. It was pretty fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's all about finding, like, the correct situation for, these units.
Yeah. That's one thing I love about this game and why it's so replayable for me and why I've been playing it straight longer than most games I play. Like, there's just so much to actually understand before you become what I'd call, like, good at the game. Like, I don't think I'm good at the game, and I'm, like, sitting over 600 hours. Like, I think I have a long way to go because I still don't even understand, like, some of the factions. Like, I haven't played some of the factions, and this is my first real play with the Skaven, and I feel like I know less than I did at the beginning of this campaign.
I mean, I still kind of feel that way about the Lizardman. Like,
Yeah.
I do want to start, like, as Gorok, like, and he's, like, basically the most straightforward as you get, like, because playing as Tehenoan, I did understand Tehenoan's faction more than when I left it. But as far as, like, the Lizardmen go, I think that's a great way you put it. I know less about the Lizardmen than I did before, but fortunately, I know more about skinks and like a couple of units. I know where to use them, I think. But yeah, I mean, I never really touched the Tomb Kings until we did Cetra.
Me neither. Yeah.
So that was interesting, and I've put in over 1,000 hours at this point, and some, like, I can do Clan Scryer. I was doing a little bit of a legendary campaign with him. I didn't get too far because I've been too tired lately. But some factions I think I can do at that max difficulty and figure it out. But there are some, like the Lizardman. There's no way I could play it on legendary. Whatsoever.
I just feel like even in terms of, like, campaign effects and stuff like that, I understand some races better because like what you're saying about the food, like I thought I was doing pretty well by keeping it like above the middle, like sort of 75-80% for most of it. I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing good, like I have enough food. But I think that is a way better play to like just keep as much as possible and produce as much as possible, so you don't have to like fill it in with wins, like from actual like defeating other armies.
And you get bonuses to leadership, which leadership is a huge issue with the
Mhm.
Skaven.
Yeah.
The more leadership, the more useful your units are, as they'll, like we keep mentioning, Skaven are all about high unit count.
Yeah.
And you're really just about outlasting the enemy, kind of. Yeah.
They're buying time. Yeah.
Well, you can surround people a lot easier, for sure.
Yeah, you can make really wide lines.
And then the weapons teams are pretty fucking awesome. Excuse me.
Should we start with the basics and go back to a little bit of Queek lore?
Yeah. Let's go. Let me take a quick swig here.
Yep.
Okay. Queek Headtaker.
Yep.
Famous for taking for the trophy rack on his back.
There's no way that's comfortable, by the way. That looks like the most nasty thing to wear.
I don't think with all the warpstone that's probably leaking into his body, I don't think he feels it anymore.
That's true. Yeah.
Because his armor is infused with warpstone, and there's a skull on his back. It's one of the orc skulls, I think. I don't know if you
the one that or like Morglum Blacktooth.
Yeah, Blacktooth skull.
Yeah.
He talks to that skull all the time.
Wait a second, that's strange.
Oh.
That's the second Blacktooth orc that has whispered to people.
Yeah, because what's his name?
Grom has the same thing.
No, it's not. It's not Grom. It's the. Let me see. He's on Mortal Empires. Hold on. Where are the great skits? Warzag. No, not Warzag.
No, Blacktooth is the orc shaman that Eltharion.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're right. Yeah. I was thinking of Azag the Slaughterer because he has
with his helmet.
Yeah, the crown that talks to him.
Yeah.
My bad, but you're right. That is another Blacktooth. We're speaking directly of Grom's former orc shaman who got his head chopped off.
Blacktooth.
Blacktooth. So yeah, he was Queek was born the largest of his litter. He had the very dark fur, and which is usually a mark of like the warrior caste system. Like all storm vermin have black fur. Gray seers have gray or white fur. I think white fur is the rarest.
Yeah, I think like Iket's kind of a.
He is a gray seer, isn't he?
No, he's like he's white.
Oh yeah, he is white. Yeah.
I think he like remarks about being like the only or one of the only white rats or something like that.
Yeah, well, that's probably why he's in charge of Skaven Blight.
And engineering things.
Yeah.
He does have the biggest brain.
He does have the biggest brain.
Let's not forget.
Queek, the thing that sets Queek apart, like I'm just going to focus on this more, which is why I've always been drawn to him, is amongst the Skaven, their entire society is based upon backstabbing. Like there's absolutely no loyalty. It's all about being as cunning as possible, murdering your way to the top. And Queek, while being probably the best warrior that the Skaven have, he actually does not like any form of deception. He likes just calling somebody out to a fight and fighting them head on. I kind of think that's interesting in this like whole world of Skaven where they're all betraying each other, trying to be as deceptive as possible, whereas Queek is just like, He's kind of like an orc trapped in a rat's body. Does
Just
that make
wants to
sense?
fight. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see it.
There's
Like,
one bat.
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say there's one battle he's famous for. Well, there's many battles he's famous for, but there's one against there's this rebellious clan of Skaven. And a big strategy that the Skaven do is, fighting in swarms. They create a bunch of tunnels into like the enemy's base, and then they swarm through them. And that's basically what Queek had done. Tunneled a bunch of holes, or his army had done it. And when he was about to give the order to, commence the attack, he's like, fuck this stupid strategy shit. We're all going through the same tunnel. And because they had created so many tunnels, the enemy rebellious Skaven had basically placed guards outside all of the tunnels, which stretched them thin. So when Queek came through the tunnel with just one tunnel with his whole army, they weren't ready for it. Mm-hmm. So his lack of strategy was actually a superior strategy because it was different. Like the Skaven aren't prepared to deal with somebody who's so bluntly straightforward, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say what I found interesting actually was I didn't realize that most of the legendary lords that are in the game, and for that matter, in the tabletop, are actually like pawns of a greater force, if that makes sense. Because Queek was essentially raised and trained by Nodwell, who like sits on the Council of 13, and Queek is essentially like his dog. Like he does everything for him, and Nodwell like makes sure he's in line, but also like sends assassination attempts at him to like keep him sharp. It's just kind of interesting to me that like these people aren't, or these rats like aren't on top, whereas like Mazdamundi is like up there. Tyrion is like Alariel's the fucking queen of the high elves, and these guys are like a step lower. I don't know. It's just interesting to me.
No, it is, but that's because most of the Skaven lead from. That was another thing that set Queek apart. Most Skaven generals lead from the rear. He leads from the front.
Mm-hmm.
He's always where the fighting is thickest. And although he is, he is a pawn, but I think if the end times went a little differently, like the fact that he's infused with so much warpstone makes me wonder about how, like the fact that he's talking to possibly ghosts, possibly to demons. Like for all we know, he's actually talking to like chaos.
Yeah.
Because I mean, warpstone is just basically, the winds of magic and chaos solidified.
Mm-hmm.
So what if he became like a kind of a Skaven chaos warlord at a certain point? Yeah.
It just turns into like a giant rat ogre.
Yeah, well, I think he would be. There's such things as vermin lords. I've heard a little bit about them. I think it's vermin lord.
Is it like kind of what the warlords get a mount with?
I think they're like definitely chaotic demon Skaven, basically.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because I've listened to a lot of, I guess, theories on the Great Horned Rat. Like the Great Horned Rat, it manifested itself kind of the same way like Slaanesh and Khorne did, but the Skaven being unique the way they are, it still is kind of like a chaotic god, even if it's lesser than Slaanesh and the big four.
Yeah, it's not direct, but it's still the same thing.
Yeah, it's still in that same vein. It's still a very real god that's has power, just probably not as much as the other chaotic gods.
Yeah.
But the Skaven have the potential, those other chaotic gods simply exist more because, the high elves, the dark elves, the humans, they all have an influence on creating those four. Whereas the Skaven, granted they're in the millions, they're kind of like lesser beings, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, that is interesting that, I did make a note of that as well, that Queek is the servant of Nardwell. I think, I can't remember if Lord Skrulk, although it does say Lord Skrulk, so I think he might lead Clan Pestilence.
I think he's like technically second. I could
Still
be
second.
wrong,
Okay.
but I think like the actual leader of pestilence is like just like a disease. Like he's just like one giant boil. Hold on, Google will answer this.
Does Lord Skrull have a boss?
He does. Look at
Oh,
that.
he does. Shit.
Nurglich the 7th.
Nurglich. Oh, so is he on the? So he's on the Council of 13, huh? Nurglich.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How does he have a name so obviously linked to Nurgle and not be? Whatever.
Yeah.
It makes sense, but I thought it would be more rat themed.
Mm-hmm. Sure, we'll hear about that on Grolk's episode.
Yeah, eventually. Man, he's got a tough campaign. At least on Mortal Empires.
I'm not stoked on it.
It basically depends on luck.
Yeah, I think so. That's what I've heard.
Once you get past like the first like 15 turns, it does get easier, but unless you can last through Gorok, like if you can make it through him, then you'll survive. But that is easier said than done.
Lustria just sucks unless you're a lizardman, and it's not even that great if you are.
Oh, at least on Vortex, he starts with Plague Monk Sensor Bearers, so those do some damage.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah, that's a tier 5.
Yeah, he definitely does it on Mortal Empires.
No,
he does not start with those. He just starts with Plague Monks and Rat Ogres.
Garbage.
Yeah. Although the Plague Monks on Vermintide, that game, they're pretty tough. They come sprinting out of nowhere with their like maces, and they can fuck you up, man, if you don't see them coming.
Did you what do you think of Skaven magic? I'm curious as to how like what your approach is.
I usually I think I have I definitely attached one of the, what do you call them, the scientist Skaven to
the
Queek.
Warlock Engineers.
Yeah, I think I attached a Warlock Engineer because their magic is the easiest for me to understand. The Warp Lightning is great.
Yeah.
That's like you can't go wrong with Warp Lightning. It's cheap.
No, it's good.
And it does a fair amount of damage. The more clumped up they are, the better it is. And the fact that they have a lot of bonuses to weapons teams and artillery.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I think in the final Battle of the Vortex campaign, I didn't even come close to running out of ammo. Like, and you fight like 3 different armies in that final battle.
Yeah, you just unload for like an hour, pretty much.
I mean, I definitely took some damage because they kept swapping directions, and some artillery and some dragons got through. But yeah, definitely, I was definitely letting loose, man, and still didn't come close to running out of ammo.
Crazy.
The plague priests, I know everybody tells me it's powerful. The only thing I don't like is like the plague magic doesn't do a lot of instant damage. I want to say it's good for kind of like debuffs and buffs to your units, but I don't know a whole lot about Skaven magic. I haven't done enough about Clan Eshin. I know there are some powerful. I don't even know what that school of magic is called. If it's just Eshin magic or ninja magic, for all I know.
It's an Eshin sorcerer, but they do like.
There's a couple.
Magic, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, there's like a vortex spell in there that actually does do something. It's kind of like Pit of Shades. So there is some powerful magic in there.
Yeah.
But I don't think it really reaches relevancy unless you do like Clan Pestilence. Because that's your actual legendary lord has access to that lore of magic of plague. With Queek, I didn't really focus a lot on magic. I'm
gonna like plague magic is actually super strong.
Yeah, see, everybody says it, and did you use it a whole lot in this campaign?
I'm currently looking at a screenshot I took after I did the battle for when I took Karak Eight Peaks.
Ooh.
and my plague priest has 704 kills.
Holy fuck. That's a lot, man.
Yeah. And
what were you using? Like what spells that like a
well, like they have I think it's just called plague. It's like a vortex that sits still, but it's
Oh,
wider.
Is that when you see like the big rat appear?
Yeah, it's kind of like what's it called that the greenskins have?
Foot of Gork.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like that. It's just like a rat that just screams for like 30 seconds. So if you get clumps, that one's really good. Trying to think what else I used in there. Oh, pestilent breath is good. Like
It is good.
Spam that at like lower tier units, like lightly armored stuff. It does really well against.
Oh yeah, lightly armored units it just tears through, and it's cheap, like you said.
Yeah, it's like a spammable, just like all right, fuck off sort of thing. And the other thing I found them really useful for was like crowd control. If you pop like one or two of them, you can keep a lot of your like holes sort of patched. Like if you're like, oh shit, I need something to hold like right here, you can just summon some rats for pretty cheap. So I that's where I use them a lot, was just like, oh shit, I need help here.
No, I definitely have. Everybody has definitely pointed out how powerful they are. I mean, I am looking forward to investing time in Lord Scroll like I did. I think there was like one weekend where I did a lot of Lord Scroll, but I don't remember too much of it. It's probably very tired.
Yeah.
But that's good to know for the future. But other than that, like with our Queek campaign, I was focused more on like the infantry and supporting the storm vermin. Yeah. Like I had a lot of fun with the storm vermin, man. I know they're not the best, but there are uses to them.
Yeah. Well, like one thing I will say, Jesus, we started this this episode and I was like, man, I did not like this at all. And now I'm like, oh, that was cool. This is cool. Like I actually really enjoyed this one. I just find it interesting that you can play the Skaven like a ton of different ways. Even though there is a way to play it, obviously, you can do pretty much any number of things. You can just like spam garbage at them until they just break. You can do like the missile teams and just keep them back. You can go like full magic, like just full plague priest and stuff like that. I don't know. It's very interesting that they're that sort of.
They're very
more
versatile.
Rounded than I thought. Yeah, exactly. They're way more rounded than I thought.
And that's kind of like what I did like about them is you can specialize in what you want. Like at first for me, it was like the infantry. I was trying to get my storm vermin online. You know, obviously with some artillery, you got to have artillery because they have great, they have great units for that.
Yeah.
And then I went with, I didn't even do rattling guns for the longest time. I did the poison wind globadiers at first.
Yeah.
Because they do a fair amount of damage to armored units, not as much as the death globe bombardiers, but they also put a lot of debuffs on the enemy. They lower basically all their stats getting hit with that stuff. It's just it was really fun to have like grenadiers and just mainline infantry moving in, artillery in the back. It was very straightforward because I'd usually send like waves, like especially in the beginning when I had clan rats, I'd send in one wave that was basically there just to tire out the enemy and get fucked up, and then I would send in my slightly better infantry, and it was interesting to play that way, trying to remember and focus on that. Yes, most of my units are expendable, and that's what they're there for.
Yeah, like when we played Bretonia, we mentioned that it kind of feels weird and slightly disingenuous when you're playing as the faction, like when you're trying to roleplay a little bit, that throwing peasant mobs felt kind of not great. But I didn't really have the same thing here. I was like, yeah, fuck off. You can like just hold that, please.
Well, all of like the tech trees, I'd have to load into a game to like bring up the tech tree, but there's I think there's one called "There's Always More Besides" or something like that.
Yeah,
like everything about the Skaven is to remind you, like, yeah, Skaven life doesn't matter. like which is kind of interesting. In like that's why they're so evil. Their own lives don't even matter, and so why would any other life matter at that point?
Yeah,
I think by 4 years old they're fully grown.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so they're supposed to have incredibly short lifespans.
I think like something I read somewhere that like Queek was like 3 years old when he like won his first battle or something like that.
Yeah, it was like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
It was one of those, which is insane. Everything about their entire species is just insanity, essentially.
Yeah, they're just like, what's the weirdest thing we could think of?
Well, it's a shitty life. Like you would never want to be a Skaven. Like I wouldn't mind being a skink. I mean, being a skink ain't great, but it's a hell of a lot better than being a Skaven, man.
Yeah, I'd rather be like a clone and well, like a literal clone in terms of the Saurus. But yeah, not something I aspire to. Oh, it is 4. Oh, sorry. Yes, when he was 4 years old. There you go.
Yeah. On the tech tree, there's like always more besides. Gives you better casualty replenishment rate. Numbers beyond counting.
Yeah.
This murder dissenters gives you public order. Set examples gives you leadership. I love all these tech tree fucking things.
Just go through and look at the names, yeah.
Well, it's like you start off with ferocious, ruthless, and devious plans.
Yeah.
Like that's literally the technology.
Pick one.
Yep. Strength in numbers. That's the one that makes your clan rats expendable. Like the Skaven slaves.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of going back to what we started talking about in the beginning, that besides Tretch, who's probably the most Skaven-y Skaven, who just like spams free Skaven slaves at everything, Clan Mors and Queek feels the most sort of like vanilla. Like he doesn't have anything super special.
No, he is kind of like the base level. He's like the Tyrion of Skavendom. Even though
he has less going for him, though.
He's got the personality, man. He's got the looks.
It's 2 for Grace here.
Well, the one thing I learned about Tretch is Clan Rictus is actually the clan most well known for its storm vermin.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you look it up, Clan Rictus is like the clan that you go to for storm vermin, and Clan Mors is mostly just for clan rats. Like, so yeah, figure that one out. I don't even think they did. I mean, if you look at Tretch on the Vortex campaign, you do start out with storm vermin, but I don't think you get 0 bonuses to storm vermin, and supposedly everywhere I look, that's what Clan Rictus is known for.
Yeah, that's interesting. Huh. Might bring that up again in the post show.
Yeah. Let's let's just knock some things out. Let's knock some more basic things out of the way. You got the Underway as the Skaven. Great ability. Use it all the time.
Underway is amazing.
Underway is amazing, especially in Mortal Empires and Vortex, where you start out. There's always mountain ranges, rivers, and shit getting in your way. I think especially depending on like the kind of like your unit composition, fighting a battle in the Underway really works out to your advantage, especially if you've got artillery, fire.
It's really good for like most factions that can fight there regularly. Like dwarves do really well because they can just defend an area that you can't flank them on. Like Skaven do really well because they can do kind of the same thing and just make them come to you. Greenskins suffer a little bit, but they still have good artillery and can like force you into a corner. I think like Wood Elves is probably like the worst because they need more space than that. But like for the most part, it's factions that automatically are good to that scenario.
Well, it might change for the Wood Elves. They'll probably
That's true.
They're getting some love. We'll talk about that later. we get the food mechanic, which we've been covering on and off. Food affects public order, leadership of your units, growth in settlements. Every city you own costs food. Your armies cost food. You get it by winning battles. You get it by raiding. And there's also some resource buildings that net you a lot of food.
Mm-hmm.
There's a commandment that gets you food.
Yeah.
So there's ways of getting it.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you don't run low. Don't ever run low on food.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about that resource is whenever you take over a settlement, you basically reduce it to ruins, and you can choose what level the settlement, which is something that's totally unique to the Skaven.
Mm-hmm.
So you can feasibly take a level 1 settlement and rank it all the way up if it's a minor settlement to level 3 on turn,
Mm-hmm.
on your first
Yeah.
turn of taking it.
Yeah, like as you're occupying it, essentially.
So, like, I've seen tricks that Legend of Total War does with Clan Wars on Legendary. Like, he basically loses his first settlement to get it back at level
Mm-hmm.
5.
Yeah.
Which is very risky, but you can do it and get away with it. It's one of the things. I really like this ability, especially when it was getting towards the end, because in my final Vortex invasion that came through, there was one that initiated that I was ready for, like as soon as I started the final ritual. But then 6 turns into the ritual, another bunch of armies of Skaven spawned in. Sure. And I had my 2 like sort of wandering armies that were dealing with like chaos and the unknown, quote unquote, unknown clan.
Yeah.
I was starting to stage them for a major D-Day event in Ulthuan. So they had just gotten onto the ocean, like ready to sail to Ulthuan. And 6 turns into that final ritual, it spawned more armies, and I was like, "Fuck! I gotta send them back." So that's food. It's a pretty simple mechanic. It's fun to play with. I think it adds a little bit of flavor. Eventually,
I think it has more depth than what it kind of comes across as. Because obviously, I didn't get it.
Yeah, well, you could. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a risk reward system. I prefer to keep it as high as possible. Like, I kind of, if I have my food maxed out, I consider myself, I will pick like a major settlement and be like, okay, when I take that major settlement, it's going straight to level 3 to save me some time.
Yeah.
And eventually, towards the late game, it becomes less of an issue, but I liked having my food at the max level or being prepared to, once I do something like that, to have a battle that I can get more food immediately after. The leadership bonuses and the growth bonuses are so helpful.
Yeah, I think that was my issue, is like growth was suffering so much. I was like constantly building the buildings and trying to keep it up that way. But yeah, I think I just needed to like focus on food a little bit more, so it was maxed out all the time.
Yeah, food is important.
Yeah.
I play it safe, and always, once I get it to the max level, I try and keep it there or just one tier below. But I always try and get it back to the max. We also have Skaven Corruption, which is another cool terrain effect. Not as awesome as like Vampirism or Chaos terrain. But you see little Skaven holes appear in places on the map as you gain more corruption. It lowers your own public order, but it's always very manageable. Like, I never had a problem managing my own Skaven corruption, even when it was like 90%.
Yeah.
And the good thing about it is it gives you a bunch of Menace Below for free. The more Skaven corruption, the more Menace Below you have.
Yeah. So it's really good for like defensive battles, but it's not so great for when you're like trying to push past your own territory.
I mean, it can. Like, if you start taking, I know it spreads to adjacent territories, and if you own like a city, a settlement or two, and like I think eventually when I went to take that dwarf settlement in Mortal Empires that we were pining about.
Mhm.
Like the Skaven corruption there was pretty high by that point because I had the other 2 settlements in that, territory or
Right.
province,
Yeah.
whatever. So I basically went in there with like a shit ton of menace from below. Although they're not as helpful against dwarves because fucking armor
Yeah.
and shit.
Armor and leadership, you bitches.
Yeah, that's what I had the death globes for.
Yeah.
Because you can throw those through like the gaps in the walls. Because the AI is dumb enough to once you like blow a hole in their wall, they'll like stand people there to guard
Yeah. They're like, we must plug the hole with dwarves.
it. And those death globes, man, melt fucking dwarves like nothing.
Yeah.
They basically explode.
Pretty much, yeah.
Clan Wars, as a faction, you have -2 loyalty from Gracier recruits. Which -2, yeah, it doesn't sound too bad, but the higher you level up Queek, he actually usually has negative effects towards loyalty when it comes to Graciers.
Yeah.
So hiring them becomes a pain in the ass. You deal with a lot of kind of like those, what do you call them? It's kind of like where you have choices. I don't know what you'd call them. Dilemmas.
Yeah, like the dilemmas, yeah.
Sometimes like they want to experiment on their army, or basically you have to pay them off, just anything, because you'll hire them and they'll immediately be at like loyalty level 2 or 1 or something like that. It's annoying.
The Skaven ones were really funny for me because it was always like 2 dilemmas.
Yeah.
Like I got one where it was like Clan Scryer wants to do some tests on like your Skaven slaves. What do you think? And you're just like, you can either say no and like get some money, or say yes and get a bunch of loyalty. And so I was like, okay, yeah, like I'll take the loyalty because that lord's not doing so hot. And then it was like, they like the experiments, they want to do more. And you're just like, oh okay. Here really? You go, I guess.
I give you an inch and now you want to take the whole mile.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah, there's a bunch of those.
Yeah, those happen repeatedly, especially when you start hiring more armies, and especially if they're not like the generic warlords.
Yeah.
Here's a faction effect I forgot about as soon as I started the game. Queek Headtaker steals a percentage of XP earned by other lords. I don't think it mattered at a certain point because I maxed them out. I don't know, not like immediately, but
he goes up there pretty quick.
Yeah, you're fighting a lot of battles as Queek.
Yeah, honestly, I prefer it the other way. Like Malekith has faction effects where he gives XP to, he gives XPs to other lords, but he like will never get the full amount. And I prefer that because then you kind of just get everyone leveled up rather than just like focusing on Queek. Because Queek goes like super fast. Like you're just like, oh, it's level 40. Like there it is.
Yeah, but he can only be in one place at one time, which is the downside. Like, yeah, I have one army that can beat anything, but it has to be there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's what I've kind of found about this too, is like I was just so top heavy. Like if someone attacked Queek, or if I attacked someone with Queek, I was like, easy win. But if anything else got attacked, I was like, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, I was definitely big about fortifying like nearly every settlement.
Well, the next thing like that I want to talk about briefly too is that like Skaven, I mean, every one of their settlements buildings produces income. So even building walls, you just get some money every turn for it.
Yeah, and then you can get even more by building that, like, what is it, like the warpstone generator or something like that.
Yeah. It's like plus 50% or something like that.
Yeah, it increases profitability from every building in the entire province. So the fact that walls actually generate you money is kind of nice. It's not a whole lot.
It's interesting, yeah. Yeah, but like I'd rather my walls produce like 80 a turn rather than nothing.
Yeah. It's pretty nice.
They might pay for themselves at some point.
Yeah, I mean, they do. I mean, I felt like they did in the Vortex campaign because they would at least either delay, or if I didn't have, Queek or another army nearby, even with a tier 3 settlement, I could do enough damage to a singular army that if they went to like the next settlement, they couldn't beat it.
Right.
Not every time, but most times.
Yeah.
Lord effects, plus 10 melee attack when fighting against dwarves and greenskins. I don't know if that just applies to him and not the army. I think it just might apply to him.
If it doesn't say like Lord's army, it's just him.
Oh, okay. So you don't fight so many dwarfs on the Vortex campaign or greenskins, to be honest. I didn't run into I didn't run into any.
And it's honestly invaluable in Mortal Empires. So it's kind of funny that way.
Oh yeah, definitely. Fighting a shit ton of Grimgors.
I honestly fought 90% greenskins in this campaign. Like I honestly don't even have that much territory after 100 and some turns because I probably killed like millions of orcs and goblins. So
but let me check my my Mortal Empires map really quick. At turn 104, I still haven't taken Karak Eight Peaks, but I have a lot of like I have all of Malice's territory, like those 3 islands, and I have all of the Last Defender's territories.
Oh, in Mortal Empires?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I also kind of went out west. I took like Dumas. I took out what's his name? The flying skink. I forget.
Tic-tac-toe. Oh, you're like all the way west.
Yeah, I didn't really move north. Like I moved west and east, kind of. It was weird because I was like making like a alliance, like non-aggression pacts and stuff, and it kind of worked out that way. And at turn 104, I've definitely been pushing north and running into a lot of Grimgor. So
I think that might have been my mistake because I didn't gun it for Karak Eight Peaks, but that was like my goal, like my first sort of like let's do that. So I went south and took everything from Karak Zorin, just so I like had that area, and then I just immediately went north, and yeah, it was just like a slog of greenskins to get anywhere close up there.
Yeah, I think you need high tier units for that because like I went up against I still distinctly, even though I haven't done the Mortal Empires campaign since like actually I think the last day of July was the last day I did my Mortal Empires campaign.
Okay.
I went to a battle where Grimgor had like, you know, the that giant rock monster.
Oh, the rogue idols, yeah.
Yeah, the rogue idol. He had a bunch of other stuff, and it was fortunate that I went almost all like I have no Playcock catapults. I have like 3 warp lightning cannons.
Oh yeah.
And having 3 warp lightning cannons took that out in like no time at all because I got it in an ambush, and also I was taking out some of his cavalry and, you know, the trolls and whatnot with warp lightning. I don't know what my point was, but I think I got lucky, and then I was kind of specking out my army towards the greenskins. Yeah. Like I did take my time towards Karak Eight Peaks. That was my goal, but I just kept finding opportunities. Like I was just like, oh shit, Malice Darkblade is looking kind of weak right now. I think I could take those islands. And the good thing about Clan Moors is that they can pretty much settle anywhere. Like almost every climate is good to them. Mountains, deserts, badlands, I think, whatever. The only thing they're not great with is islands, and then whatever the high elves make up, enchanted islands. Is that what it is?
Oh, like all of Ulthuan, yeah.
Yeah, they don't do so hot there.
That's fair. Yeah, that one I can understand.
Well, it's kind of annoying because I took a lot of turns to send up one of my Scheme of Doom guys up there to kind of spread. Like there's that building you can build that gives you like a 10% chance of spreading to an adjacent territory.
Right.
And I swear like 30 turns had gone by and it had not spread whatsoever.
Yeah. Okay, that brings up another question I had. What do you do with Under Empires? Because I am at a loss with them.
Mainly to either generate food or money. You try not to do both because one usually costs the other. So depending on how your campaign is looking, the way I look at it is, do I need food or do I need money? If I'm doing good on food, then I lean towards like the money buildings.
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Do you build like the anti-discovery buildings? Because mine always got discovered with like as soon as I built something in it.
The trick to that is you want to pick your settlements carefully, like because that research laboratory automatically kind of puts you at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Because your regular heroes, the freaking scientist rats, I can't remember what they're called.
Warlock engineers.
Warlock engineers. They can build an under empire once every so many turns.
Right.
So when they build an under empire, they do not have that initial building of like that laboratory.
Mm-hmm.
So already it's a bit more secretive.
Yeah.
But the way you kind of want to think of it is you want to pick a settlement where legendary lords or armies in general are not going to enter.
Okay.
Like it's very tempting to put that laboratory in like the most valuable settlement.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is, but if you do that, you immediately probably have to invest in like the max level of stealth, like that murder holes or whatever it is. And then you can maybe build one building and that's it. And if you build any more than that, it'll say like maybe you have good odds of not being discovered, but the second like maybe a couple heroes and the legendary lord enter that town at the same time, you're going to be discovered because they all apply like bonuses towards searching for Skaven.
Mm-hmm.
So if you choose to pick like maybe a settlement that's not really worth much, especially for that warp block or the laboratory, then you could maybe put down a food building, a stealth building, and even the building that spreads, gives you a chance to spread the undercity. Well, all the buildings spread corruption. Yeah, but there's one building in particular that gives you like a 0.5% chance of spreading. Mm-hmm. And if you build that early, within 20 turns or so, it's probably going to spread.
At some point,
Yeah, and then when you have a territory that's doesn't have that laboratory, then you can kind of choose what you have more freedom with what you want to do with it because that laboratory does give you a fair amount of discoverability.
Right.
But I would say figure out what you need. Do you need money? Then build like what is it, the warpstone mines or something?
Yeah.
It gives you like a hard 200. Or you build, if you need food, you can build that building that nets you some food every turn. Inevitably, you're probably going to want to invest in like the stealth buildings because they are valuable. The one that removes your line of sight is cheapest.
Yeah,
and
that kind of like nulls the point.
Yeah, if like you choose to, what is it like? If you want to colonize, build an undercity right underneath Tyrion's starting city.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably worth it to get the percentage of the income. It's definitely worth it. But it's just, the undercities are tricky. I like to play it safe and take the cities that are kind of on the periphery and try and spread long term. Because I feel like Skaven are much more long term, I don't know, schemers.
Yeah, like you're thinking more ahead than you might with other factions.
Yeah, like in Karak, I know with Mortal Empires with Karak Eight Peaks, I think I immediately destroyed almost every building in that undercity to get extra cash. Mm-hmm. And then I think I built just the one building that gives me a chance to spread the undercities to get a free one. Mm-hmm. And eventually that just ended up paying for itself because it was such a low discoverability because it was just the one building. Mm-hmm. And then I think I started adding stuff as I had extra money once I started to, make more.
Gotcha.
So I didn't keep any of the original buildings in that Karak Eight Peaks, I don't think.
Well, that's helpful. That's definitely not what I was doing. So yeah, good to know.
Well, so it's whatever you like. Some people, I watch a lot of YouTubers, and sometimes they like basically disassemble their entire starting setup. Mm-hmm. And some people don't. Like I usually tend towards working with what I've got.
Right.
And with Clan Wars, I think I was just like, man, I just need the cash to build like, the weapons dump or whatever. And I was like, I really don't need these. I really don't need these things in the undercity up there.
Yeah.
Like, do I really need?
Especially when they're going to get discovered.
Yeah, and it's like you can build that cheaper stealth building where you lose line of sight on Karak Eight Peaks because it's like, do you really need line of sight on Karak Eight Peaks that early on in the campaign? Like,
Yeah, fair enough.
Hmm.
All right. Anyway,
Yeah.
Queek gets 50% negative upkeep for Stormvermin and Clan Rats in his army.
Yeah. Even though even though you don't like the storm vermin,
It's not that I don't like them. I just I struggle to find the use for them when I just want cheap units to hold the line for a second.
But they are cheap, and they're better than they're dude. They get as cheap as Skaven slaves once you level up Queek. Almost.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's minus 50%, and then I don't know. Skaven slaves are literally 10 gold a turn.
Yeah, they are damn. That's talking about some cheap life there.
They're nothing. They cost nothing.
Yeah, it's really more worth it to disband a unit of Skaven slaves than to let it replenish. Almost.
No, it is. Yeah, you constantly just. It's almost like with Vampire Coast or Counts, where you're just oh, I need more garbage. I'll just combine these two and raise some more. In this case, you're just recruiting it, but it's just oh, I'll just grab some more trash.
I mean, let me look at Queek's. Where is it? Life is very cheap. Oh, that's just a discount on Clan Rats.
Yeah.
Damn, I thought he had more discounts on his Storm Vermin. I guess
no, he gets negative recruitment duration. And
yes, so you can recruit in one turn.
Yeah, and then recruit rank for them as well.
Yeah, +4 recruit rank. So,
but yeah, it's still only 50%.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still only paying 189 for regular Storm Vermin. So that's pretty damn cheap.
It's
obviously
179 more than my Skaven slaves.
Yeah, but they're gonna last a lot longer, man.
Yeah,
almost all of my Storm Vermin are at gold chevrons, so their leadership is at 79, which is pretty good. Not counting if they're standing close to Queek or my Warlock Engineer.
Yeah. Yeah, I did want to use them, but I just struggled with actually finding the space to put the building for it. And
you only need a minor settlement to build it.
Yeah, but why do that when I can get walls that make me money? I was needing growth, so I was pretty much building growth everywhere, and public order, because that was also an issue, because I suck at this game and very hard kills me.
I mean, I didn't build one in every province,
yeah.
But in my original province, I definitely built one because gonna need the Clan Rats with shields anyway.
Yeah, I just found the Skaven have way too many buildings to sort of you can't do the same setup in every settlement.
No.
You really have to be okay, I need this and I'm gonna need this. You kind of have to plan it out ahead of time, because otherwise you end up with a very mismatched, non-functioning setup.
Oh, that's very true. Every one of my provinces is kind of built uniquely. The Clan Armory, the level 3 of buying the Clan Rats and Storm Vermin, does net you 80 gold per turn. So it still makes you money, Still worth something. Let's see. Yeah, that weapons team that we're talking about, the Warpfire and Warp Grinders, is only a tier 2, as well as assassins. You can get assassins.
Did you? Oh yeah. Did you use Warp Grinders at all?
No, not at all. Not in this campaign.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I tried to use them against the walls or as anti-infantry units with blobs and stuff like that, and I was just this is not good. I don't understand why people rave about these guys.
I don't know. I've seen the AI use the Warp Grinders very effectively against me, and I have no fucking idea why it worked when they did it. I still remember when I was playing Malice Darkblade and I went up against Clan Eshin, and they used Warp Grinders pretty effectively against me at times.
That's what I mean. I'm damn, it's Warp Grinders. Gotta watch out for those. And then I bring them, and they're just garbage.
I mean, their ability is still good. The one that freezes everybody, and then you can do damage. That's pretty effective if you got missile units on the ready aiming at them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just I didn't know what to do with them this time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if my army, like when we do Clan Eshin eventually,
Yeah.
I'll try and. I still don't know how I'm gonna use them. Like I'll probably keep one in the beginning until I have artillery just to get through walls, because I've definitely used them when I played as a Snickage to break into like a walled city before, but
Yeah.
I don't feel like they got a lot of kills, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you mind if we take a 2-minute break? I'm just grabbing a glass of water.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing actually.
Okay, cool.
All right, I'm gonna go quiet for a minute.
Okay, me too. Hello?
Yep.
I think I sprained my toe.
What?
I got up to get something and I just whacked it into the side of my desk.
Oh.
So, yeah, my toe's throbbing. I'm
sorry. I'm sorry to hear that.
I was just like, ow, fuck.
Just drink water. You'll be all right.
Yeah, just drink water. Walk it off.
I was just looking at the Vortex map, thinking, we now know that there will be a Wood Elf Legendary Lord somewhere in the Vortex campaign.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's got to be Orion's camp. I think that's the one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Orion's camp. And I'm like, great, we're gonna jam another Legendary Lord right in between Queek, Krokar, Grom, fucking Imric.
Yeah, everyone knew was in there. There's just gonna be another one. Yeah.
Unless they create a new territory, which is always possible. But I have a feeling it's gonna be Orion's camp. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
It could be fun, depending on what.
I think so.
Depending on what else.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, exactly. It depends on the how the faction as a whole gets reworked.
And also, Wood Elves can't build walls, and I fucking hate that.
Yeah, that makes me uncomfortable too. It's one of the reasons. Well, it's the only DLC I don't have because I've just been like, I don't want to play them.
I got it because it was on sale. Like when it was one of those times where like the remaining DLCs were on sale pretty steeply, and I was just like, fuck it, I need them all anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I did get it, and SFO the mod did. It was like I think a couple months ago it came out with like a Wood Elf update that was specifically to the mod, and it did add a lot to it. And I have like this weird feeling that Creative Assembly like watches like modders like way too closely, and I'm like, ooh, that's a good idea.
Well, that's good news for the Kislev mod.
Yeah, Kislev is coming in Warhammer 3 for sure. Like, I don't know why
I'm sure.
Like, yeah, I feel like Kislev is going to be like the new Empire, at least like the starting race. And yeah, hopefully some other things get fixed. I think Chaos Dwarves are going to be like the Dark Elves of that original race pack, I guess.
The release, yeah.
It's going to be a big map, man. When they do like the new Mortal Empires.
Awesome. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
It's going to be sweet.
So anyway,
right.
Where do you want to take it? We've been going for a little bit. We've covered the basics. You said you hated the storm vermin. Was there? I mean, you obviously like the rattling guns, right?
I never. Did I say I hate the storm vermin? Because I don't.
Yeah, I mean, you're like, I don't know what to do with these guys.
It's not that I hate them. It's just that like I don't understand the use for them. Like I don't know.
Look, they're just a mainline infantry. They're there to hold the enemy in place. You grab the enemy by the nose and you kick him in the ass. You grab him by the nose with the storm vermin and you use anything else to kick him in the ass.
Yeah.
That's basically their purpose. Like Skaven slaves don't hold long. They hold enough for you to fire artillery and do whatever into. Clan rats hold a little bit longer, but like storm vermin will hold pretty long. And
I think it's just like a different play style than to what I would like, rather than just like using plague priests and Skaven slaves and throwing them out front, as opposed to like having an actual line of infantry.
Are you comparing them to like source warriors or dwarves, like in that way?
Yeah, like using them as like a proper front line rather than the garbage you throw out in front.
I mean, they're not utter garbage. They're just not superior to what like the enemy can bring to you. Like they're not going to beat Phoenix Guard by themselves. You have to help them, but that's where the rest of the Skaven roster comes in handy.
Yeah,
you know, even something as simple as Poisoned Wind Globadiers or the Poisoned Wind Mortars, when those units make hits on the enemy, they're debuffing them. Like their melee defense, their speed, everything goes down whenever they get hit by shit like that. Even the Play Clock Catapults, I think, debuff enemies that they hit.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of other factors that are going on in the background, I think.
Yeah. I'll give them another try. Like, obviously, we're going to play Skaven again, but I think more than other factions, you can change the playstyle based on who your legendary lord is.
Well, definitely. I mean, Clan Scryer has the whole workshop that you can modify and build nukes, which are awesome.
Unlimited ammo for Rattling guns.
Unlimited ammo. I always think about. Did you ever play Metal Gear Solid 2?
Oh no, not that old.
There's one scene where, well, I think you're familiar at least with like the series.
Yeah,
that was like that game. The second one was when everybody got pissed off that you played as the blonde guy Raiden, and then not that I cared. I liked him anyway. But there's one point where you meet up with Snake, and he's like, how did you make this far? And he like points to his bandana, and he's like, infinite ammo. Because in the very first one on the PlayStation 1, like if you beat the game under certain circumstances, you got his headband, and that gave you infinite ammo. And like without any explanation, it's just like in-game canon. Like he just points to his headband. He's like infinite ammo. Like that's his explanation.
If you didn't like get that in the first game, you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was great, man. Like, dude, like I have a weird. Maybe if we ever extend our podcast to more beyond Warhammer, which maybe one day we will. Like, I have a lot of like emotional feelings attached to that series in particular, just because I like grew up with it. I guess you could say.
Nostalgia is the word you were looking for. Emotional feelings makes it sound like you have a crush on it.
Oh well, no, it's definitely nostalgia, but I have like it's weird, like I don't know, especially because Metal Gear Solid does flashbacks to previous games, like later on.
Yeah.
And when you get reminded of that, you're like, damn, man, I was in elementary school when I played that. Like, you know, like it's weird shit like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fun.
Anyway, so was there any units that you were particularly like happy with that you felt like you got a good grasp on with
I feel like, I mean, like artillery is pretty easy.
Yeah, they do have great artillery. Like it's either like good against infantry or good against single entity large units.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's really straightforward and really easy to use. I just kept the original Warp Lightning Cannon and brought 2 plate claws, and that was like really solid against most things. Like it just as a general use sort of thing.
Yeah, I always liked keeping a mix. Like I think I did 2 Warp Lightning and 2 Plague Claws, just to have the perfect balance when I needed it.
Yeah, I think honestly I knew I liked Jezails and Rattling Guns going into this, just with my little bit of experience with Ikit.
Who doesn't like snipers?
Yeah, exactly. Like who doesn't like not having to fight and just like having everything shoot shit? Like obviously it's awesome. What I really like discovered I did like was the Plague Priests more than anything else. There was like the one unit that really surprised me and was like, oh, that's like really useful. I understand how this is usable in like a number of different situations, because you can use them as like just a damage dealer, or you can use them as like crowd control. with like throwing chaff. And you can also like summon plague monks, which are a good flanking unit if you need to like surround some infantry as
Plague
well.
monks
So,
are pretty damaging. I mean,
mhm.
especially to lightly armored troops. That
Mhm.
they have like no defense, but if you get a flank with them,
Yeah, if you just spawn a group of them behind some infantry, it's awesome.
that is what plague priests are basically for. I feel
Mhm.
like.
Yeah. So that was like part of the playstyle that I really liked and would like to do again.
I mean, Clint Scroll is definitely got the plague priest thing going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
But the one good thing about him though that I did like is if you do the was it the pestilence scheme? Is that
Mhm.
it? Yeah, the pestilence scheme. If your own cities and armies get affected by the plague, they actually get boosts.
Mhm.
So you can actually get a shit ton of growth out of infecting like your own city with the plague
Yeah.
as it spreads around, which is pretty sweet. I'm not gonna lie.
That's relatively new, right?
Yeah, it did not used to be like that. Like I think
Mhm.
it did like not. I think it used to like either not affect you, or it didn't give you too much in the way of positives,
Yeah.
and it also didn't spread as much. Like if you drop like the pestilence scheme on like say an adjacent like a city you don't own,
Mhm.
first of all, it's probably going to spread throughout your entire province before
Yeah.
it extinguishes itself, and it's going to spread out from there to like
Mhm.
almost every other city within like a territory or two. It
Right.
spreads crazy, like, and it definitely did not before like one of the recent updates. I
Mhm.
know it didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that was a pretty big quality of life change they just made.
It definitely makes clan pestilence a little bit more uh I wouldn't say like, yeah, definitely a little bit easier because infecting like a lizardman army like Gorok's army with plague, you just watch as like each turn goes by and that army that's trying to get towards you is just losing like portions of it
Yeah.
every turn, and you're like,
Yeah,
yes.
which is a really good strategy when you're like very clearly outmatched.
Yes, and especially when the garrisons disintegrate before you even get to them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really useful.
Incredibly useful.
Welcome to Queek's episode where we talk about how much we like the other legendary lords more.
Well, no, I like Queek as a duelist. Like I
Yeah.
felt like anytime I put Queek up into a fight, obviously he doesn't compare to like the likes of Imeric or I don't know. I don't know Tyrion well enough, but I felt like once I got his legendary enhancements, like his armor and his weapon,
Mhm.
I've got a pretty good talisman on him, you know. Uh especially with all the traits he's gained over everybody he's killed.
Yeah.
He is he is definitely a hero killer for
Mhm.
sure. Like he
One thing I liked him for and kind of used him for was like pretty much always going after, yeah, like either lords or heroes. I found he actually survived better, um, even if he was surrounded by enemy troops. Like if he was in like a bunch of goblins fighting a big boss, he did better than I feel most like duelists would do.
really.
I don't know. That might have just been like my own interpretation and the fact that I had
No,
like a 17% ward save talisman on him. But
yeah, what do I have? I have I have a 70% word save on him as well.
yeah.
Yeah, the talisman of preservation all the way,
Mhm.
man.
Yeah. I just feel like it's similar to like Grimgore, where you can just like lock in on one of them, on like a lord or a hero, and just go for it. And by the time their infantry's like had a couple pokes at you, you pretty much have dealt with their lord.
Yeah, I mean, what is this? Your the warp shard armor around yourself. So even if you're surrounded, you're giving everybody negative 23 armor, negative
Mhm.
5 melee defense, and that's constant.
Yeah.
Uh, so and then you also get another 10% ward save on top of that, which I
Mhm.
forgot about. So 17 plus 10, so you get 27% ward save. Let's see, what does Dwarf Gouger do? I mean, Dwarf Gouger is like netting. You get that ability that gives you plus 50% armor piercing weapon damage and plus 24 melee attack, not counting how you've leveled up and not counting whatever buffs that you throw down on him at the
Yeah.
same time.
Mhm.
He's pretty fucking powerful. I mean, what
Mhm.
is it? Brendan Slaughter gives you frenzy, which is great. Trophy heads, which is a hex, is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
I
that's
love
really good.
trophy. Yeah. Negative 24 melee attack, negative 40 melee defense. I mean, you throw that down on a lord as well as activate all your other shit at the same time, or just in succession, like I usually do.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like Grimgore. You just like pop a bunch of buffs and hexes off on their lord and just go to town.
Yeah, and nothing ever really stood up. In the final battle, Queek didn't really take any damage, and he was engaging dragons, and I know he doesn't have a bonus versus large.
Yeah,
And also, granted, like those dragons were also being shot at by rattling guns at the same time. But Queek was fucking people up, man. I mean,
that's how I've learned to deal with Snake Itch. Is just throw something big at him because he doesn't have any anti-large.
no, I know that's definitely the best strategy. Anybody who's like a duelist, if they don't have anti-large, is to throw anything large at them, at least to keep them.
Or if they're not on something large themselves.
Yes, exactly.
Because Queek has a really good ability to take out footlords, but everything else is kind of.
I mean, the Skaven make up with that because they have tons of options for dealing with pretty much anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you know what's coming towards you and you know what you're dealing with, then just prepare accordingly, and you'll be all right.
Yeah.
Were you gonna say anything?
Well, honestly, I was taking a drink because my throat was getting dry.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna take a drink as well. This has been like a weird campaign because I definitely felt, maybe it was because my knowledge from the Skaven, but I did this on very hard normal because again, although I did start a campaign on Legendary Immortal Empires at one point that I was making headway in, I obviously wanted to finish this within any time frame.
Right.
And like, my biggest complaint against Legendary, but it's a complaint against basically any video game, because it's like almost every game anywhere that you play, the higher you go in difficulty, it doesn't actually make like the game much smarter. It's just like, oh, now they get more hit points. Now they less damage.
Yeah. Now your stuff sucks and everything else is awesome.
Yeah, that's why I almost always, even before this, when I played Rome 2, Rome Total War, Medieval 2, I never like to mess with the battle difficulty, because it's like, what fucking sense does it make to make, like, when we were doing Emmerich, but I think it was the last Lord we did. When we were playing as Emmerich, like the Skaven slaves were fucking crazy, man, on Legendary. I tried it. It's like, what sense does this make to have Skaven powerful? They never break. So, and all, like, I wonder if I do okay in like multiplayer, like competitive multiplayer, because I have gotten used to doing some of the, I think I did Grom on Legendary, and I still never got that achievement, but whatever.
still a little bit sour about that one.
Well, maybe if I just load it up now that we've gotten that update and just like end turn, maybe I'll get it. Maybe I should try that right now. But it's just not the way you should play. Like, having the battle on anything higher than normal, maybe on hard a little bit.
Yeah,
like
even then I find it just not fun.
Yeah, I don't mind setting the campaign kind of high, because like on the campaign you can tell the AI is definitely lagging. Like, I mean, sometimes, especially with the WAS now, they get pretty powerful, like the greenskins.
Right.
But sometimes the AI just does things that just don't make no sense. We've talked about it before, where like the player preference towards the AI is like too strong, to the point where like they'll be being attacked like on one side, and they'll be like, instead of, even though you're not even attacking them, they'll just dedicate military resources to invading you instead of
Yeah.
defending their borders.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you just watch like your enemies slowly die because you're defeating the armies that are sent your way while they're getting hit in the back, and it's like, why are you doing this? I didn't even declare war on you.
Like, hello. Yeah, that's my biggest frustration, I think, with this game.
But I know AI is expensive. But one day, I think probably within the next couple of years, I've watched like some YouTube videos on like that AI program that's learning StarCraft that can beat out most players. And it doesn't cheat either. Like they have it set so like it can only see what like a player would see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is, I think, amazing because most of the time, like we all know from everybody. I've watched plenty of Legend of Total War videos where the AI gets public order cheats. They get money cheats because they can't program the AI to build its settlements to make sense enough of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why I started complaining about that, but when you're dealing with like a faction with like the Skaven, like if you play this on Legendary, your Storm Vermin are going to be completely fucking useless, man. That's the sad thing, isn't it? Like in a way,
a bunch of units, like, well, I mean, like basically melee infantry is useless.
All melee infantry,
that's right off like half the game.
It does. Half the game right there, man. It's like, oh, you like being a infantry commander? Well, too bad for you. It's missiles and artillery or nothing.
That sucks.
And even cavalry, which is like incredibly useful in any war game, is like, fuck them.
That one, like, like cavalry in this game sucks, but like Bretonnia makes a run for it. They do okay.
They do okay if you play it on like normal battle difficulty.
Yeah. They need an update, but they do okay. I don't know.
I was just playing the Three Kingdoms Total War. Like I took a nap earlier, but before then I played a couple turns. And the cavalry in that game are definitely powerful.
Oh yeah. And and even in Rome, like the cataphracts and stuff like that will trash most of what most people can bring. Like some of the horse-centered factions can literally rely on cavalry and like mostly horse archers because they can just skirmish most armies away, like just grind them down.
Yeah, I do like that.
I think the big thing that is like hindering Warhammer from it being similar to that too is like map sizes and how uneven they are. Like you don't end up with a whole lot of like really good terrain for cavalry.
No. I mean, that's kind of a reality of the problems with cavalry in history. I mean, you got to pick the right battlefield for them to be used. It's just that I just don't like in the higher you crank it up to legendary and all melee anything becomes on your side useless, on the enemy side perfectly viable.
Super good. Staunch line of spears. Let's go.
So they have a staunch line of spears. They have a staunch line of Skaven slaves. Never mind spearmen. Yeah, just get fucked if you're bringing anything other than rattling guns and artillery. I mean, the thing about this playthrough for me was it gave me a taste of, I do want to go and play a Vortex of Clan Eshin. Like I do want to play Mortal Empires of Clan Scryer. Not so much the Vortex campaign because they start too close to Pestilence.
Everyone else almost,
Yeah, and I really like their Mortal Empire start. I as much as I like Queek's starting position on Mortal Empires, how you're you're like close enough to Karak Eight Peaks to where it hurts because you can't take that with like your low tier infantry because
you just see it off in the distance and you're like, god damn it, one day.
And you even have an Undercity there. But like starting, I really like Clan Scryer's starting point in Skaven Blight, because you have like unique buildings there that I've never gotten to build. But you're also close to the Empire, like close enough to taste it, like kind of like Karak Eight Peaks. Like you're like, oh, I gotta get ready for this.
Yeah,
Build
it's a different. You're fighting different people for sure.
Anyway, I'd like to just briefly mention you get 2 unique quest battles for Queek. Let's just throw that out there. Let's get that out of the way.
I don't want to talk about it.
Well, then they're not. They're better than some. You know, I'd rank them like kind of like towards the middle of what I've come to expect from quest battles so far.
Yeah,
they're not bad. They're not special. They are what they are.
Yeah, I did like the dwarf ambusher one, the one for dwarf gouger. That one was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'd rank that above average. You start out kind of what was it? You kind of talk about. I think Queek talks about how he knows the Grey Seers are luring the dwarves to come attack him. Like the dwarves are the unknowing servants of the Grey Seers, and he's like, "No matter, let them come."
Yeah.
That's kind of a cool fight because, you know, in those underway ambush battles, you're kind of on this path that is on the high ground, and you've got a small dwarf army on both sides. And then, especially if you know the other forces are coming, they kind of hit you at the rear and the front of where you are marching.
Yeah.
And they bring the napalm.
Iron breakers.
Iron breakers, yeah. A couple of iron breakers appear on both sides. So if you're ready for them, you can deal with them pretty easily. But if you're not, those iron breakers will...
Yeah, absolutely fuck you up.
Yeah, they hurt. They hurt, man.
Let's Skaven have an answer for most things, but iron breakers, if they're close enough to throw things at you, you're done. Like that's fine. That's it.
And the iron breakers at the front kind of appear at the perfect spot because you're probably... Like, obviously, once I had fought that battle a couple times, I know what's coming. But, like, the first time, you know, you see the dwarves coming at you from, like, basically your left and your right down off, like, the main trail. And you kind of try and split up your forces to start positioning yourselves. And then as you're winning that fight, because you're definitely going to win on both fronts, even if you split up evenly. But then the iron breakers appear right in front of you and start shooting fire into the sides of your storm vermin or whatever the hell you got there.
Yeah.
And it gets ugly fast.
Yeah, the other thing too is like your artillery starts on like either side. So if you don't move it, like an iron breaker is going to spawn like almost on top of one of if not like both or several of your artillery units.
Yeah, at least one. I went through that. I think I had another one that was, you know, further enough away, but especially because in the ambushes, your artillery trails at the rear of your formation, so they're going to be the closest to that rear attack from the iron breakers.
Yeah, for me, it was literally like, oh, there's reinforcements coming. And I was like, okay, where from? Oh, my plague clock catapults are gone.
Well, that was fun while that lasted.
I'm like, oh, okay. Everyone please turn around and shoot these buggers.
Yeah. It's definitely a tougher battle if you don't know what's coming. Like any battle. I'll definitely give it props for that. It was a cool, as the Skaven, you're actually getting ambushed by a bunch of stunties.
Yeah.
Which doesn't happen too easily. Especially in the Vortex campaign, you really only fight the dwarves once for their gold settlement. What is it called? I got it right here. Karak Zorn. Yeah.
There's just no dwarves in Vortex, period.
Thank God. I did help out Clan Ashton with Vulture Mountain, actually.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I helped them out with those. I forget what the dwarf clan they are.
Yeah,
but even on the Mortal Empires, Grimgor wiped them out pretty quickly. Honestly, I don't think I even fought the dwarves on the Mortal Empires like at all.
Yeah, like I didn't fight them very much, but I don't think this was a bad week for this particular character, but it could have been better because the greenskins and Grimgor specifically is so fucking strong right now that he's basically number one power almost every time. If he's not, Karak is, and he's number two.
I mean, if he can, sometimes they lose. I
Yeah.
do see them lose on Mortal Empires, and it's like weird. It's like there must be some critical battle that occurs early on between, Karak and the Grimgor,
Mhm.
where if Grimgor loses that battle, he's done. But if he
I actually think it's his confederation with Wurzag.
Oh, okay.
Because Wurzag strips magical resistance.
Does
and
he? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like brand new. He strips magical resistance, and also that's like another faction and a decent amount of territory right off the bat for him.
Oh yeah.
So I think it depends on like how Wurzag moves, because if he ends up like running into Grimgor and then he defeats him and automatically confederates him, I don't know. That's my theory.
No, that's a good theory. I mean, this is kind of why maybe there is a mod that can take out was it fucking Fog of War, because I do like seeing that computer play sometimes.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Because a lot depends on chance. Because there have been auto resolve battles where I was just like, it said I would lose, and I was just like, fuck it, auto resolve, and it was like valiant or heroic, maybe not heroic victory, but like I still won, and I was like, holy shit!
Oh my god!
It just rolled the dice, and I just ended up on top that time.
Yeah, it's happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that happens for the computer as well. The AI, it'll roll that calculation, and it'll be like, oh, this time Grimgor wins, or Karak wins.
Yeah, that's fair. Be interesting to see.
The other quest battle was between, I think it's, I can't remember which is which. One you get Dwarf Gouger, and the other you get your armor.
Dwarf Gouger is the one like against the dwarves.
Oh, okay. The armor is definitely the one against the other Skaven.
Yeah.
It's another battle underground. I know it's kind of set up where you don't get to kind of arrange your army. It's arranged okay. You get your artillery, where you generally want it. But basically, you just have to survive against waves of Skaven as this other Skaven warlord who brags about having better armor than you. This was the funny thing. As you're doing, like, advancing through, like, the quest, like, you get to collect so much money. You get to do certain stuff to get access to these quests. Like, one is, like, Queek immediately kills his, like, second in command and blames everybody else. He's basically the guy I work for in real life.
He
blames everybody for his fuck-ups. And he thinks he's so merciful when he doesn't immediately kill somebody for his own mistakes. I don't know, but it's an underway battle. You get some obstacles in your way, like you get columns and stuff. There's a doom wheel that comes at you. But by the time I fought it in my most recent playthrough, I had such an overpowered army. I think that was the one that you needed a certain amount of money to unlock.
Yes. Yeah, you have to amass a treasury.
Yeah, that's a weird requirement. Because if you're like spending money like super efficiently, like, okay, I get this much now next turn I'm gonna buy that. No, next turn I'm gonna buy that. Like, you're not saving any money. You're just you always have a plan for that cash.
I honestly think it's like just 10,000 or 20,000 exactly more than what you have at the moment. Because I did restart at one point to see if the ambush bug would go away. It didn't, spoiler alert. And the first time it was like 29,000 and like whatever change I had, and then the next time it was like 39,000 because I had more money already. So I think it's just based on what you have to begin with.
Yeah, that's a trick that Total War pulls a lot.
Yeah, and the text is like, Queek wants to become like the greatest warlord, so he needs a bunch of money to do it. It was not great reasoning.
Yeah, Queek isn't a deep thinker.
Yeah. Just bring me money.
Bring me money. So that battle is not as advanced or interesting, really, as the one with the dwarves, that ambush. Because you're kind of at one end of the underway. You got waves of Skaven that appear. If you got some artillery, that's great. You
They
know,
don't have much.
they have like I think 1 unit of warp lightning cannons, and
Yeah.
take those out with your probably at least 3 plague lock catapults, and
Mhm.
they'll be done.
The one thing
uh,
I wanted to mention about this battle in particular was if you defeat the legendary, or not the legendary lord, but the enemy lord, you immediately win.
Ew, okay.
So as soon as he was on the screen, my Jeziles went after him. So I won the battle really quickly because as soon as he's dead, you just win.
Oh, holy shit!
So
Yeah.
yeah, I was like in the middle of like a pretty big skirmish. Like there was a bunch of Skaven slags. My plague priests were just like chucking rats out, trying to keep them back, and my rattling guns were like slowly mowing everything down. But like he just died because he got shot too many times, and I just won. Like he just immediately everything routes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That explains. I did that battle maybe like 3 or 4 times, and every time it seemed to be different lengths. And I was just like,
Mhm.
yeah, maybe I just killed enough this time to where it finished quickly. But that's probably why.
Yeah, because it just says like killer defeat the enemy lord, and as soon as he's
Yeah,
gone, that you win.
yeah, and I think if you probably defeat him early, those like other armies don't appear. I feel like that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not a hard battle anyway.
No,
It's just
no.
other Skaven and not particularly high tier Skaven.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
a
nothing to write home about.
lot of Skaven slaves, Skaven slave slingers, probably maybe some gutter runners in there somewhere. Yeah, nothing to write home about. The thing about Vortex campaign, remember how I bitched about Tehadawin having like 0 access to warpstone, like or the tablets, the ritual.
Yes.
Fucking Queek at the. I mean, granted, I'm 161 turns in, and I have access to I think like let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sources of warpstone. Yeah, you get like 2 kind of in the southern tip of the Southlands. One where Malice Darkblade starts out, Tower of the Sun.
Right.
Then I did this really totally Skaven thing. Can that be a name of like a teen show? Totally Skaven. I don't know.
That's so Skaven.
That's so Skaven. That's so Skaven. So I had that in this episode of That's So Skaven. There's the Black Pyramid of Nagash. You know how there's that like minor faction that kind of builds up there. The
yeah.
I forgot the Sentinels of Nagash. Maybe I don't know what they're called.
Yeah.
So I realized I was like, okay, I have lightning strike and ambush. So they had like maybe I think like 2 armies standing outside or something like that. They had a pretty considerable force.
Mhm.
Anyway, I had aligned myself with both Clan Ashen and Cetra at this point, but the Black Pyramid was still kind of up for grabs. So I went up there with Queek and I took out one army, and then Cetra, that motherfucker, moves in, takes out the other army, and laid siege to the settlement, which is like at a level 5 at this point because it's pretty late in the game. It's got that late stage garrison.
Mm-hmm.
So I just had my assassins just start assaulting his units over and over again until he finally just gave up on besieging it. And then I just swept in and took it for that like final source of like warpstone that I needed. Like nobody is really close to me now that I finished the ritual.
Mm-hmm.
I got really lucky. Like when I was playing this to Hedowin, everybody completed their rituals when they started them. This time it was like, oh, Hexawaddle failed this ritual. The Dark Elves failed over and over again.
Oh yeah.
Like the High Elves failed, I think, at least once. It was crazy. I was like, they're failing. Like, I mean, I had enough money to hire intervention armies, but for the most part, they got destroyed as soon as they got hired.
Yeah, they're kind of idiots.
Yeah. Well, one time I got lucky with a Nagaront. Like my intervention army started right outside a totally unguarded settlement that had the ritual, going on. That was the one time I've ever seen that happen. So they managed to beat that one. But even as far as the High Elves and Hexawaddle, like every once in a while, not every ritual, but at least like one or two, there was like, oh, they failed this time. They got to start over. And I was like, holy shit. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. That's weird.
Yeah. They got like a series of bad rolls against the forces of chaos because I know they're not great.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
And like not able to obviously like go back after and grab him.
No, or maybe they did, but well, actually, no, because if
No, they
I
would
got
have
that
completed
message,
it.
yeah, sucks to be them. This time, Nagaron, what was it? When we played as Tehedwin, Nagaron was like 3 rituals ahead of me. This time, they're 3 rituals behind me. So, fuck
Weird.
Malekith.
He's pretty like, yeah, he's one of those lords where I'm always interested to see where he's at because he's like usually really good, but sometimes he gets like beat down by the Skaven clan he starts by.
Yeah, I've seen him confederate like everybody up there, and then yeah, you told me about like not doing so well about the Skaven. In my Vortex campaign, I can't keep in mind I can't see everything, but kind of like the way to the northeast of like Nagaron, like kind of in like the Chaos Wastes.
Yeah,
up north, Clan Rictus actually owns a couple settlements up there, and I see a big army of Clan Rictus right now about to hit a settlement called Shagrath.
oh, weird.
Yeah, they own the Frozen City. Yeah, so I think Clan Rictus is kind of actually intermingled with their territories. Like they're definitely get a hold of some stuff up there. Holy shit, Clan Rictus! Tretch Craventail is strength rank 1. He's number 1.
Holy fuck, really? Oh my god.
Tretch needs to be nerfed right now. He's got 41 settlements. Holy shit.
Holy shit, on Vortex? That's nuts.
Yeah, but how's Nagaron doing? Oh, they only got 11 settlements. Clan Rictus
Holy
got 41.
Fuck, 41?
Fuck, man.
What happened?
I don't know. Oh man, Tretch is OP, man. He's the dark horse.
He's the dark horse.
We all were making jokes. Little did we know Tretch was in the background.
Yeah. Next week, Silastra is going to sweep the map.
Yeah. Oh man, that would be fucking hilarious.
I, for one, welcome it.
I would welcome it. Like, what are the odds? What? I can't believe that. I can't believe I didn't even notice that. Like, I was looking at earlier. I'm like, what's Tretch doing up in like the Chaos Waste up there? Like, he can't be doing it. Like, that can't be good. And then I just opened it up now. I'm like, holy shit, number 1.
God. Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah.
Did you have any more battles that felt like anything that was really close? I know you said you pretty much like swept through and had a really easy time of it, but
the one, like we said, was the Fortress of Dawn, where I took heavy casualties, but I had that one unit that I started out with the warp fire throwers, like clearing out street after street. It was pretty cool. Yeah. Like, because I did the battle once and I lost, and I was like so pissed off. And I know it feels like cheating every time I like reload, like to do a battle over again, but I was just like, fuck this. Like, I felt like a lot of units didn't do what I was telling them to, or they got like, I don't know. I forget what my excuse that helps me sleep at night.
Yeah.
I told myself. But I went back and like I had the warfire throwers stalking through block after block in that city, like melting high elves, and I was like, man, this feels good.
This is how it was supposed to be.
The only like quest battle that felt like a quest battle other than that was one I actually lost. Like I said, I was trying to assemble a D-Day event on Ulthuan because Cetra actually he raised the Glittering Tower just south of Lothern, that little island right there.
Yeah.
But he was besieging Lothern like over and over again. He would just keep losing against Attain, who confederated everybody.
Yeah.
And I landed, like, I took Sartosa. I took that because it is a suitable climate for Queek. All of Ulthuan is uninhabitable, unfortunately. Yeah. Like, that'll stop me, though.
Yeah.
But I was trying to land on that, like, southeast Shrine of Loic. I took it with 2 armies, and then Attain sent, like, another 2 armies. And I had a pretty crazy battle with, like, 2-on-2 armies. And I ended up losing, but it was pretty damn cool. And I got pushed off of Ulthuan. but that was only because Queek had to turn around when that surprise Gracier army appeared.
Yeah.
You know.
Hmm.
I don't know. Most of the time, I felt like pretty in control. I have a good grasp of the Dark Elf or Dark.
The Skaven.
The Skaven. Why did I just say that? I was looking at the High Elves, I think, when I said that. And Queek is pretty straightforward. I think I had a good plan from the get-go with Queek, and I just kind of stuck to it, modifying a little here and there.
Right.
But I don't know. I didn't have too much of a hard time. Like I said, how
Much
about
more
yourself?
Worse than me. Yeah. I didn't have too many. Like, I did have some like pretty serious losses where obviously had no chance. I was just like, fuck it, auto resolve. I did have one super close ambush battle. That was probably like one of the closest things I've ever fought. I was like sweating and cursing at it because it was just like so tight.
Who is it up against?
Well, orcs or like greenskins.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But what happened was I'd taken most of the territory in the mountains there south of Karak Eight Peaks.
Okay.
But the crooked moon mutinous gets still held Karak Eight Peaks, and they were still pumping out armies every so often.
Usually good units too.
Yeah, like it wasn't a bad army. And Queek was like ahead, sort of. They like underweighed past him. And he was going to take Karak Eight Peaks, but then I had like one army that was sort of like half set up. Or like mostly set up, but you know, like the Lord and the heroes were somewhat low level. I didn't really have any experience on the weapons teams or anything like that. But they underweighed close to one of my settlements that I had like just taken and knew I like had to hold, otherwise they'd like start sweeping back a bunch.
Ooh.
So I got an ambush off on them when I attacked them, and I was like, fuck, I like have to take this even though the balance of power is not good at all, even with an ambush. And I honestly don't know how I got out of it. It's probably only by like the Skaven's tendency to like run away and come back.
It's not a bad thing, especially when it's a fight they can't win. And coming back it's useful for them not to fight to the death sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know how to put it. It's weird because sometimes you want a unit to stay there till the very end, and other times it's like it's good that they're getting out of the the kill zone, I guess.
Yeah, it's like free flanking opportunities and like or like distraction units, like just be like, okay, hold this here, sort of thing. But yeah. I don't know how I won it, but I had like sort of a defensive position because it was an ambush, so I was just immediately firing into their sort of danger units, like the what are they called? They had black orcs, and then what are the chariots called?
Oh yeah, fuck those things.
Wow.
The wolf something chariots.
Not those guys. The little like snotling ones.
Pump wagons. Fuck the pump wagons.
Yeah, thank you. I was like, I cannot remember that.
No, they did a lot of damage to me on Mortal Empires as well.
They're really good. I couldn't use them as the greenskins, but they suck to deal with as anyone with sort of cheaper infantry because they'll shoot through it.
That's because the AI can micromanage with no problems.
Yeah.
You have to physically keep track of every goddamn thing going on.
Yeah, the AI uses them really well. So they had some of those and some black orcs, and I had like Skaven slaves and a decent amount of weapons teams, but like I said, I didn't have a whole lot of experience on them. But it literally came down to they had like a black orc big boss hero and not a death hag, but like a green river troll hag, and some like orc boys orc boar boys running around at the end, and I had like my warp lightning cannon crew like sitting off in a corner trying to shoot at them, and like I was just going back and forth between like weapons teams, like wavering and running away and coming back, so they'd like shoot a couple times and then like run away, and I eventually like ground them down. But it was down to like the warp lightning crew like holding off the big boss while I shot him with what was left of like one of my rattling guns.
Yeah, I think I had one time in the final Vortex battle, I just had like 6 rattling guns left in one unit, still like firing away, and they're still doing damage.
Yeah.
Because it's still 6 rattling guns firing off, you know?
Yeah. It was one of the tightest battles I've ever had. Maybe the tightest.
That's pretty awesome.
Like when 3 rats walk away from it, like shit went down.
But they stayed.
I didn't lose any units. That was the crazy part.
Yeah, I've had that too. I was, especially with the Skaven, just because they have such a high count, like their threshold for a unit being totally dissolved is much higher. Or lower, I should say.
Yeah. They'll run away with like 5% health, and like it's kind of nice because it saves you from re-recruiting, but you still have to win, I guess.
Well, it's good, especially like I had a rattling gun team that was the max rank chevrons, and I thought they were gonna be wiped out, and nope, they still lasted, and I could replenish them. So it was like better that than lose a max rank rattling gun team.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, it was a big deal for me because I was like not in the province I recruited it in, and even if I was, like, it was going to take several turns to get all that back if I lost it.
That's like the weird thing about the Skaven is you can get, I think, better units than other factions can earlier, but the problem is like once you start expanding, like it is not easy to get because they're expensive too. Those buildings, like building the workshop for the catapults, and even getting the storm vermin is very difficult once you start expanding beyond your initial borders. It's expensive and time consuming, so you really don't want to lose any of them.
Yeah, it's different from like other factions like the High Elves, for example, where you are probably going to use like spearmen and archers, like tier 1 units for a good portion of the game before you like get to a point where you can pretty much just recruit a bunch of armies and you're just like, yeah, Phoenix Guard, dragons, like all these super expensive units. But with the Skaven, you get to like tier 3 and like rattling guns and Jezails and like really, really good units for how fast you can get to them. But then like there's the ceiling after that is it's hard to get to tier 5, and it's also they're not on like the same level as other tier 5 units.
No, I mean, what is the one unit that I like? The horror, the mutated horror.
The Hell Pit.
Yeah, the Hell Pit abomination. That's pretty good. Once you can finally get access to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that was useful against phoenixes. Fucking, I had fought so many arcane phoenixes and regular phoenixes.
EA lives them right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, and they go straight for the weapons teams. Like they don't fuck around. So they were good for that. I never made any Doom wheels.
Yeah, me neither, actually. Like I always planned to, but I never got around to it.
Nah, never did either. I saw how effective they were. They always lasted a long time.
Yeah, no, I like Doom wheels, and I wanted them, but I just never got to that point.
Even die. Like I want to mention, like I mentioned briefly before, the garrisons for Skaven are pretty freaking powerful, especially for the main settlements.
Yeah, they're not bad, honestly.
Oh, come on. They're like some of the best. They're the best I've seen so far. What is it? The towers are just so overpowered if you get them up to tier 5.
That's a big thing. Yep.
You get the Skaven Warp Bomb army ability if you build a garrison, which is awesome.
That one's a fun one, yeah.
Yeah, any unit that's about to be overwhelmed, or you can just use Menace from below. You just detonate them, and they can wipe out. It doesn't matter if those units that it blows up on are tier 5 or tier 4; they just evaporate if they're in that blast radius.
Yeah, there was a dwarf battle that I was pretty confident I was gonna lose, but I did have a garrison like nearby. They weren't actually attacking the garrison, but they were attacking my army, which was in the vicinity, so I got the bonus. and the only way I won it was by getting like below, like just dropping it in the middle of their formation, waiting for all the troops to like converge on it, and it drops to like 50% health, and then you just like drop a bomb in the middle of it essentially.
You're just clicking furiously, waiting for 50%.
Yeah. It's like no 50%, 50%. I'm like, come on, it's at 49. I believe.
Yeah, I mean, you could theoretically get a bunch of clan rats to take out a couple of high tier units, you know, or a significant chunk of them.
Just gotta make them explode.
Yeah. Bloody Skaven. I guess I'll touch on really quick. The Vortex campaign is very straightforward. Overall, you know, it was definitely. I definitely felt straight up like I was the antagonist, which was pretty cool. I don't mind being the bad guy because we've always been fighting the Skaven, and they've always been giving me problems in like almost every other playthrough that we've been doing. And it was fun to be on this side of things.
It is nice to be an annoying prick for once.
Yes, you were definitely an annoying prick. You can ambush on the attack, so you don't. If you get ambush high enough, which is pretty easy with Queek because he's got other level ups that increases ambush chance.
Yeah, I hit 100% like really quick.
It doesn't take much.
Yeah.
So you don't even technically need lightning strike. Like for the most part, you're going to be ambushing people anyway. And ambushing is pretty fucking powerful. Especially when you can position everything the way you want before the enemy can. And especially when you have weapons teams, because being able to put like rattling gunners and your artillery in key positions, you know,
right?
Perfect. You can advance pretty quickly in the Vortex campaign through like the High Elves, the Fortresses Dawn. I dealt with a little problems from like there's like a sub faction of lizard men that the game tried to make me make peace with, or a non-aggression pact. And it just takes so much money to do that.
Yeah.
Eventually, Malice Darkblade pissed me off because he was like entering my property without asking permission and was raiding me. So I was like, "Fuck you! I'm gonna take you out."
Yeah.
It was inevitable anyway because you know those islands over there are too tempting. I mean, once you have them, nobody's gonna go after them. You know, they're just there.
Yeah, they're a little bit more removed in Vortex.
Very removed, man. There's nothing over there.
Yeah, basically, it's the edge of the map on two sides.
Yeah. So once you get them, you're safe. You know, build some public order. I definitely lucked out with creating like that ultimate alliance. It really did feel like the ultimate alliance between Eshin, Cetra, and me.
Yeah.
Like there was nobody else I needed to align myself with. I was making a lot of money off of trading with both of them, and just the fact that I can now go anywhere I want in the Southlands, like to get to Ulthuan, or if I wanted to go anywhere else, like it's no problem. Though I am kind of in a stalemate. Like I said, I took Sartosa in order to stage like a big D-Day event that was going to be bigger than 2 armies. It was originally going to be 4 armies landing all at once, but then I had to send Queek and his other buddy back to deal with the the final armies that were appearing.
Oh, yeah, like the chaos and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're all the just the unknown Skaven clan towards the end. Like,
oh, okay, yep.
Yeah, I stopped facing chaos. I think like the 3rd ritual was the last time I actually faced chaos. After that, it was like almost exclusively just the unknown Skaven clans, which I think were harder than the chaos. Honestly,
yeah, they are. Like Skaven are in a way better place than chaos.
Yeah, isn't that sad?
Like, oh, ranged units. I have to deal with those, right?
All they have is maybe like 1 or 2, if they have 2 hell cannons, and then you can just drop Menace of Below on them, and then bye hell cannon.
No, it's like what I was saying in like my Noctilus campaign, where I just had an army chilling by that area of the map that spawns chaos, and he just like would take out 5 armies in one turn because he'd just lightning strike them all, and like they'd just walk into my gun line, rinse and repeat. That's
so pathetic. They gotta create demonic units and stuff like that. I don't know. They gotta come up with some shit.
I want to feel fear.
Yeah, they should be, shouldn't they? Like, I mean, every lore story that I hear of the chaos is like, demons mixed with, like the former humans that are now tainted by, whatever demon they chose to worship.
Yeah.
And it sounds terrifying. I mean,
Yeah, it's fucked up. Like, it should be like, when it comes up and it's like, can you hear it? Like, I should be like, somewhat be like, oh shit, here we go. And instead, I'm just like, fucking get me out of this cutscene so I can go back and not care about this.
really, that's all it is.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
Yeah, the only thing disappointing with Vortex was it was great that I was leading the rituals for once. But my D-Day invasion failed because I went there with only 2 armies instead of 4, and eventually I got beaten back.
Okay.
It was sad, but eventually I'll take them. But, I mean, now that I know Clan Rictus is #1 in the world, I have hope for myself.
Yeah. Look for a confederation.
I mean, I could have confederated Clan Ashen probably like 30 turns ago, but I just didn't do it because I was like, I just don't want more cities to manage.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Especially at Vortex, it's like you just got to finish the the rituals, and then you're done.
Yeah, it's less about like a lasting impact and more just like, okay, we need to get this done.
Yeah, and it's nice for that. So it turned 161 for the Vortex campaign. I was finally done. So that was great. How about so you did pretty much entirely Mortal Empires, which we talked about. I don't blame you for. It's such a cool setup. I like it.
I honestly really did want to try Vortex, actually, just because I remember playing like Krokar's Vortex as one of my first campaigns ever in this game. And I loved it because it was just like this intense rivalry with Queek, where you pretty much, I don't know, at that time in the game, it was just like we were the superpowers and we're just like clashing like right on each other's borders.
Yeah.
So I did want to like see how it would feel from the other side, but yeah, I had a lot going on personal wise this week, so didn't have.
Well, yeah, you were moving, and that takes a lot of fucking time and stress.
Yeah. Usually I like to have an idea of like what both campaigns feel like, but life.
Hey man, you don't got to explain that to me. I've been the one who's been like pushing dates back and
good.
But yeah, no, I'd like you to try it sometime because even for a few couple turns, like 20 turns or so, like it's interesting, man. It's always cool. I like it when any game lets you be the the opposing side, at a certain point.
Yeah. It was nice that like I've really not liked going up against Skaven in the past because they're a little much in this game. Like you're just gonna fight them with pretty much every faction. So like at some point you get a little tired of it, but it was nice to sort of flip the table on that one.
I still got tired of fighting other Skaven though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that's the thing is like you're Skaven, you gotta fight more Skaven in the Vortex.
I didn't think the rituals would spawn. Like I was like, oh, it spawned an unknown Skaven clan. That's this time. Oh, that's novel. And then it was just another unknown Skaven clan. I was like, what the fuck? Where's chaos?
It kept coming. You're like, what the?
Because chaos is great. I didn't even have to worry about them.
Right.
I don't know, man. What else do you wanna say about Clan Wars? You're the one who did Mortal Empires. You took it Karak 8 Peaks, which is a big deal. That was kind of gonna be my like short-term goal, but then I ended up going east and west as opposed to north.
Yeah, like the only issue with that is like you end up doing so much around there and like fighting so many other like greenskin armies and taking their settlements that Karak 8 Peaks is kind of a gimme after all that because you've taken everything around that because you kind of have to get in there because it's like an extra turn just to get in there because it's sort of removed, so you either have to underway or take a turn to walk around and probably take attrition on the way. So yeah, like it was a pretty easy fight because at that point I had like catapults, I had Jeziles, like better units that are capable of taking out defending armies, especially the way the AI plays them.
Yeah, when they're on the defense, it's much better for you.
Mm-hmm.
The green screen threat was definitely, it looked like a hellhole up there, man. As soon as I started advancing, because maybe I was advancing up there later than you were, because especially since I like went east and west instead of north, they had a lot more there was definitely like one army where I went against with where it was like almost entirely black orcs.
Yep.
And I was like, holy shit, man. Like, because storm vermin do not stand up against black orcs whatsoever.
No.
Which is fair. It's fair, but
mm-hmm.
You got to be prepared for that. That resistance, I guess. I didn't realize the AI would go all black orcs.
It happens. I don't know. They've been pulling some weird army combos, to be honest. Like, and they're using the DLC units a lot, which is why I'm like having such an issue with all the pump wagons.
Yeah, the pump wagons too. Like they go in and back and they fuck up my weapons teams.
Yeah,
and there's not a whole lot I can do because even my Stormverm and Halberds can engage them and do damage over time. But the second those pump wagons want to disengage, they can get out of there.
Yeah.
And my Halberds cannot chase after them.
Yeah, like the only way I found to even inflict a decent amount of damage was just use the warp lightning cannons as soon as they come into range and just keep it on them, because usually you'll take out like one or two of the actual like pump wagons, like one of the actual units. So you end up with like their leadership usually breaks shortly after that, but they don't take that much damage from like slingers and stuff like that are totally useless. They'll chew through pretty much any infantry except for storm vermin, and you pretty much just like have to have a couple weapons teams on them while something else holds them. They're super hard to deal with.
They're a pain in the ass. I'm glad I didn't have to worry about them really on the Vortex, because Grom, I never even saw Grom on the Vortex campaign. Who the hell knows what happens to him?
He probably got destroyed.
Yeah, Clan Ashen owned his starting location, so I don't know if they were at war with him at one point, but he was just gone.
Seems to get destroyed fairly regularly.
Poor Grom. I mean, it's fun when you play as him. I had a great time playing as him in Mortal Empires and Vortex, so I ain't complaining. But it doesn't mean the AI knows how to use them. They know how to use Trutch Craventail, apparently.
Better than I ever will.
Yeah, I always want to play. Like I mentioned, when I looked up that like Clan Rictus is actually famous for storm vermin, I'm like, why the hell doesn't Tretch have anything to do with that then?
Yeah,
okay. I don't know. Whatever. Fuck it. Hopefully, we're getting clan. We'll talk about that a little bit soon. We're almost done. I don't know how much more we can go on about clan wars.
I'd just like to give my opinion of Skaven, and that's pretty much what I meant.
Yeah. Did you like when we played as Tehedwin? I did have a lot of fun. I was honest. I did fall in love with the Lizardmen. I did not fall in love with Tehedwin.
Yeah.
So I am looking forward to playing as Gorok or Nakai, anybody really. I am excited to go back and play as the Lizardmen. Did you? I mean, you sound like you did say that as you were thinking about it, that you did have fun experimenting with like the Skaven units and trying things out with them.
I went into it just being kind of like it's one of those factions that I like saw, and I saw all these people playing and really liking, and I like I said, tried them a little bit and was kind of and even playing the campaign, I was kind of but like I get it, like you just line things up and shoot them. But I don't know.
You don't have
exactly.
to. Yeah.
As we've been kind of having this conversation, I was kind of thinking about it one-dimensionally, I guess, at all times before this. And I wouldn't say I like fell in love with them, but I definitely appreciate it a lot more. And I would really like to try different factions that have different effects. Like I am excited to use Skrulk and try and use like plagues really well, or use Ikit and the weapons teams a little bit more effectively, and learn how to like really maximize that out. I'd like to play as like Tretch and learn how to spam Skaven slaves and everything.
No, I think I am gonna do like a Vortex Tretch campaign for fun.
I'm so curious now. Yeah,
he's in a weird position though on Vortex, especially probably on Mortal Empires as well. But he's in a weird spot. You know, you got to give him that.
In Mortal Empires, he's sandwiched between Nagaroth and Nagaron, and neither of them like him.
Yeah, it's such a bad spot.
Yeah, that's rough.
I did watch Legends. He had recently, he was doing a Tretch Saving Your Disaster campaign.
Oh yeah,
and he was basically suggesting like with Tretch you have to fortify every settlement you own to level 3 before you even consider taking another settlement. Damn. Like don't even bother taking like the next settlement over unless you've built up walls. You know, it's not even worth it.
Really?
I mean, I believe it though. Like, and he was doing a campaign that wasn't even on Legendary. Like, you know how he still does those campaigns, like just because they're disasters. And I can see it, man. You're surrounded on. You get no fucking help from anybody. You get no friends.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone hates Stretch.
Nobody loves Stretch.
Poor guy.
Yeah, but it's definitely an interesting position, and I definitely learned a little bit more about Skaven playing this time because I used Storm Vermin way more than I would normally. Because, like usual, like I think my first real Skaven playthrough, sort of, not completely, was with Ikka Claw, and it's like, you know, just rattling guns, warp block Jeziles out the ass, you know. And I learned to do more with less, as in like using my clan rats to hold down units while my warp fire throwers would basically take out everybody, including the clan rats. But the clan rats were so cheap, I would just replace them anyway.
Yeah.
You know, I might have like 3 units of Storm Vermin that I was trying to protect and like use as like a last resort. But other than that, everything else was expendable. And it was kind of cool. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm glad I have like an appreciation rather than just being like, fuck.
I'm glad you did too. And, you know, it was great moving because I felt like I learned so much from the Lizardmen that I think I liked the idea of Tahanoan more than I actually liked them. And maybe I probably will go back to them after I learn more about the Lizardmen and get more comfortable with them.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I've been very upfront with saying I still, like, I learned how to use some units really well, but, like, there's still, like, half the roster that I'm like, I still really don't know what the fuck I'm doing with.
What do you do?
Yeah. I'm Dreadsorian good, but still, I still don't, you know, whatever.
I mean, at least this week, there's no, like, unit where I was like, man, that was awesome, and you're just like, wait, what?
That's true. Yeah. That's true. I would still say don't discount the Deathglow Bombardiers, man. They will evaporate an entire dwarf unit if they run at them, and you like, they're not entirely short range. They're pretty short range, but not like super short. If a dwarf, like anything, comes at you and you can hit them right at the edge and throw like 2 volleys, they're gone. They're done. That's it. It's fantastic. And God forbid they get bottlenecked, or you're on a siege map and you can just chuck it through like the broken walls or the broken gates, because they just keep coming back for more. I had fun with that unit.
Yeah, I'm curious to try them. Might try like Iron Drakes as well.
Yeah, we'll get to that in the post show, because we had to figure out how we're doing 2 weeks from now.
That's true.
And I think I know what we're leaning towards. I don't, you know, in the end, I'm very negotiable, but anyway, do you think we've covered pretty much everything? We've been going for a while now.
Yeah, I think you just need to ask me the question.
Yes, Archer King, Archer. Filthy, no fur.
We're back to this.
It's the only thing that matters. What makes Queek the Headtaker renowned and feared, as if the Headtaker didn't really.
Yeah, as if the like huge crest of skulls and hands and body parts hanging off him from his previous victims wasn't enough.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Didn't see that there.
I didn't. You know, I knew he was whispering to somebody, but I didn't know it was, you know, just the corpses hanging off of him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's like renowned. He's described as the like best warlord in all Skavendom. Like he's considered one of the best warriors to ever, if not the best warrior to ever like come out of Skaven kind. He's feared by many, including the dwarves and the greenskin, hence his like bonuses in the game and his backstory. It's kind of interesting.
Well, he's like the only brave Skaven there is.
Yeah, like yeah, exactly. It's interesting because he's less like schemy and more just like I will fuck you up, and like it's not a very Skaven way, but it's a very like it's an attitude we're kind of used to with characters in this game.
Yeah, well, that's what I like. The one thing I did like about Queek is like Skaven have a very, you know, they have an MO, and Queek is he defies that.
Yeah.
You know, that trend, and he's still, you know, he's still Skaven, whatever, but there's almost not much. Like I was reading that what's his name, Lord Nardwell, his boss. Like he is disappointed by the fact that like Queek is like, yeah, he's the most powerful fighter this Skaven I've ever seen, but it's like Queek, you've got no tact. Like you could do so much more if you just thought about things, and he just doesn't give a shit. Like
yeah.
So it's weird.
No, they knew you.
I mean, imagine if Queek was like you know, cunning as well. Like if he had like kind of like an attitude, like I mean, even if he took a little Tretch Craventail into his mind, where you know, or had the attitudes of Clan Eshin, you know, but he doesn't. He likes fighting the old-fashioned way, and the greenskins, the dwarves, they all feared him. Yeah. And
it's hard to go past like, look at the dude, he's decorated with his victims.
Yeah, the dude is the rat is clearly out of his mind. He's high on warpstone all the fucking time.
Same.
Well, yeah. Gotta respect that. Anyway, I guess we'll wrap it up here.
I'm good.
Yeah, I would say stick around for the post show, but I'm gonna split it up also for ease of use for rendering, and maybe we'll get more views out of it. But if you've been here for the entire time, thanks for sticking around. And this has been Renowned and Feared, and you know, like, subscribe, all that other shit.
Support us, please.
Yes, support us. Leave a comment. Check out the post show, or check out the description, because my dates are no longer accurate when we're going to release the subsequent episode. But as far as who we're covering, like once we say in the post show we're covering so and so, that is who we're covering next. So we are really looking forward to, you know, people giving their thoughts. We'll give you a shout out. You know, I want to hear what you think about, you know, whatever units we'll be covering, overall feelings. Doesn't matter. Just, yeah.
It's nice to have several opinions.
Yes, I like the interaction. Anyway, everybody have a good night, and check out the post show or whatever I end up titling it, because we're going to be talking about the DLC, and we're going to be talking about maybe a little bit about Troy, but mostly about the DLC of Warhammer. Anyway, all right, fuck off.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bitch ass Craig out of here.
Yeah. All right, you want me to send Craig out for a minute?
No, it's all good.
No, I probably should. It'll make it easier for me to.
Yeah, just break it up.
Yeah, break it up a little. Yeah. Quit Warhammer right now. All right, Craig. You and everybody else, leave me alone. Come on. Highlight. I know. I do things.